All right, guys, this is another big one. 100 most influential fragrances of the 21st century. This is another deep dive video, 100 fragrances starting from 2000, ending up in 2025. Although we don't get to 25, we get to 24. But these are not necessarily my most important or my most loved fragrances. These are some of the biggest, most influential fragrances, as I said. So you've got everything from niche, when niche became uber luxury and designer became kind of bordering niche and all that throughout the 21st century. And we've got designers, indie brands, niche houses, luxury houses, all that good stuff in today's video. So this comes a week after the previous video I did in this kind of a similar theme, 100 most important fragrances you must get your nose on before you die. As a perfume lover, go catch that video if you haven't. And so today's is 100 most influential fragrances of the 21st century. So we'll be smelling a lot of fragrances. If you have questions or anything, ask the questions. It's a long video, so I'm sure some of you have watched these videos. This one could end up being 3 hours plus, because the last one turned out to be 3 hours and 10 minutes. If you can't watch it all in one sitting, save the video in a playlist or something. And I personally add these videos onto a playlist as well of all my deep dive videos. So you can go and search for that and watch them back to back. So let's get started. But one more thing, if you are interested in buying any of these fragrances, I have them tagged in the videos. So YouTube shopping is turned on, and you can go ahead and buy anything. And the last thing, there are discontinued fragrances here. Sadly, there are. So I have, I'm highlighting everything in the 21st century. Whereas in the last video, it was all current selling fragrances. I made sure to do that. But here we do have discontinued fragrances. So let's get started in the year 2000. I've got 2 fragrances from this year. Most importantly, starting with Musc Ravageur. I was supposed to start with... one sec. We're starting with Ambre Sultan from the house of Serge Lutens. These are the 2 fragrances. This is definitely the fragrance I first bought from this house. And still to this day, I absolutely love it. In fact, I've grown to enjoy this house even further throughout the years. And as I mentioned in the last video, I've come back to this house as my tastes progress and, so many niche houses come out. I go back to this house thinking they make some of the most amazing scents. And I'm smelling it right now. It's so super delicious, super spicy, ambery, resinous, vanillic, balsamic, all of this spicy definitely, and also powdery. But I think this one also has some aromatics. I feel like I get a little bit of something like thyme or oregano or something in that kind of a ballpark of aromatics. Beautifully blended, not standing out too much, not contrasting, but you can smell it. So super awesome. I love it. Giving you the idea of Interlude Man, which I do have here in this video. But Interlude Man has that oregano that really stands out. This one is blended in a way that it doesn't, but you can notice it, if that makes sense. Super awesome. So we're starting off with Ambre Sultan, year 2000. I can't believe that's been around for so long. But we've got Musc Ravageur next. So I think Frederic Malle put out their fragrances or launched the brand in 2000. I discovered the brand in 2012, actually, 12 years later. And when I discovered it, I was just getting into, really deeply into niche. And the fragrance I discovered the brand with is Portrait of a Lady. But I think this fragrance here definitely has become very influential, and I think definitely one of the most important fragrances from a niche house, and also very popular because it keeps coming up. People comment about it. People really enjoy it. Although under Estee Lauder, the brand has changed a bit. This is not as animalic as it used to be. I remember the first time I smelled it, I was like, wow, that's quite musky. And the more I experience with it, the more I think it's gotten a bit more sweeter, less animalic, musky, and more like a sweeter gourmand take on a fragrance. But to me, if you like a sweet musk, you must sample this. It's super awesome. It's ambery, it's vanillic, of course. It's a bit caramelly. There's some light aromatics in there. And of course, you've got that sexy musk. It's so good. So we've got Musc Ravageur here. So Musc Ravageur and Ambre Sultan, both of these really awesome scents. You must check. In 2000, that's when they were launched. Moving on to the house of Dolce & Gabbana, we've got Light Blue. So Light Blue is an Olivier Cresp creation, and Light Blue is a very fresh, fruity fragrance. And even though, between the two, the Light Blue for the ladies and the Light Blue for men, I think the ladies is a far superior scent. The men's goes to marine. Thank you, Alberto Morias. But Olivier Cresp did a nice, fruity, fun fragrance that's super fresh, a bit tart, but super sweet and airy. And I think to this day, it still, smells great. It smells really, really awesome. And definitely, if you like fruity, fresh fragrances, you should check it out. It's one of the most popular fragrances out there, so I've featured it here on this list. And it deserves to be on the list because it's definitely a really awesome scent. I really like it. I actually wear it myself. In fact, Creed has a fragrance, or they did, called Jardin d'Amalfi, which reminds me of this. So they're kind of similar fragrances, but the Creed's pricing was over the top expensive. And you can, go the route of the designer and get something sort of close and come to smelling really, really great. So I think it is a ladies targeted fragrance, but I think a man can totally pull it off. I think it smells great. It's just a fruity, fresh fragrance. Not super floral, and the apple is really, really prominent in that. But also this one came out the same year, Mugler's Cologne. This is the Come Together version. I haven't seen the new cologne. It was relaunched this year. I hope to see it somewhere along the way, but this is Mugler Cologne Come Together. They rebranded in, I think it was 2018 when they rebranded and launched other variations on Mugler Cologne. But super awesome. I think it's super soapy, green, super fresh, and really invigorating. And I think I started wearing it the year it was launched, actually. And I was already a big fan of Mugler. I had worn myself Amen multiple bottles by the time this launched. I had gifted Angel to relatives and my mom, including the innocent versions, because by that time, I think multiple flankers were out for Angel, not for Amen yet. And then this dropped as a unisex offering. And between this and 8 years prior with CK1, I much prefer this fragrance, because I love soapy, clean fragrances, and this one's super soapy and clean, and really a pleasant, uplifting kind of a fragrance. It has green touches, it has citrus floral touches, and the leaves as well. Plus, you've got the juiciness of the citruses in there, and the musk that's in here. Really lovely fragrance if you haven't tried it. And I'm glad it's back. Another influential or important fragrance, going to the house of Chanel, this is Coco Mademoiselle. I remember this came out 9 years after Angel for the ladies. And I feel like I kind of put it in the same category. It has a lot of patchouli in it. It has some sweeter notes in it. And it has a super sexy trail. And I started noticing ladies wearing it, and around the time I was always smelling Angel, and Angel is very distinct. This kind of reminded me of it, but not quite. This one has a bit more of an earthiness. I feel like the patchouli in this is a bit more raw and earthier, but it is covered up with a nice sweetness and other notes that kind of ground it, but you notice it. Like if you compare them side by side, Angel and Coco Mademoiselle, you notice the differences between the two, but they have their own distinct smells. This is a very Chanel fragrance, whereas Mugler is the Angel is a very Mugler fragrance. I kind of prefer the other one more than this, but this one also has left an impression. I smelled it all the time for many, many years until finally I had to figure out it's not Mugler Angel. What is it? And it's Coco Mademoiselle. So it's a feminine targeted release, but I feel like it's quite important for the launch, and it's it's come up with multiple flankers. But unfortunately, with Chanel, they don't release flankers as much as Mugler does. So there's probably like what, 4 or 5 flankers for this, and Angel's probably received 100. I'm probably over exaggerating, but they have done quite a few flankers. In fact, they've rebranded Angel. They had the Angel Elixir, which was a dud, I think. They destroyed the original Angel with that fragrance, and then now they're kind of working on flankers of the original. But this one, the Chanel line, doesn't do a lot of flankers and things like that, but I think it's quite important. Let me know if you're familiar with this one, and have you worn it? Do you like it? This is Coco Mademoiselle from Chanel. All right, going to the year 2002, we've got a fragrance called, what do we have here? M7 by YSL. So this is during the time of Tom Ford. This was actually sent to me by a follower of mine on the previous channel, and I've kept it. It's a discontinued fragrance. This is also a tester, as you can see on the bottom there. I appreciate it if you still follow me. Thank you. I've kept it. So this was quite a groundbreaking fragrance, but I don't know why YSL didn't keep it like this and they moved it into this kind of a bottle. And there's also 2 versions of this, like the Oud Absolu version of the fragrance. One of them is black around it with some clear, and then this one's all clear. So, but this one was, like a Tom Ford creative director. Did I spray it? He was a creative director at YSL. From what I've read, they didn't really like each other. Yves Saint Laurent and Tom Ford didn't get along, from what I've heard. So that didn't last too long for him. This was also the early 2000s. So I think in 2003, it was Rive Gauche, which I haven't listed on the list here. I'm not including it. But I think after that he left, and then he launched his own brand, and then 2006 is when Black Orchid came out. But going back to this is one of the earliest oud fragrances, and I'm not 100% sure this is true oud. It smells a bit more of a Western oud. I'm picking up Cypriol type notes in here, but there's resins, like it's an ambery base. I think there's a myrrh note in this. And from what I remember, there's also like sweet orange on top. Let's see if it says bergamot here, but I believe for this one, it did say orange for the Oud Absolu version. But this one says bergamot, agarwood, vetiver, and amber. Yeah, later I remember reading myrrh for the ambery note, and then of course orange up top. But I think it's somewhat simplistic also. It's not necessarily super deep, but I'm picking up Cypriol quite a bit. I think it's the accord that they've created here. It's a woody accord. And from what I've read and heard, Cypriol or papyrus or nagarmotha is used quite a bit to act like oud in fragrances. So that's one of the ingredients they use to create the accord. So it's a great scent, though. I quite like it. I missed the launch of that fragrance. I completely missed the launch. But unfortunately, that happens. Now, the M7 Oud Absolu version is a bit more beefier. That's a later production. I feel like my original bottle is fading a bit. But they smell quite similar, not identical though. It's a great scent. It's easy to wear oud, and definitely something to talk about as far as influential fragrances from the 21st century. So we've got this fragrance here next. This is Dior's Addict. We do have some feminine offerings in this video, obviously. I've heard, I never really got into the original, and I've heard the original obviously is far superior than the reformulation. This table is full, so it's a bit busy on here. And I try to put the shorter bottles in the front. That's why I'm a little mixed up with some of these, because I have the list and it's out of order. So I want to make sure I do it exactly the list is, so that when I add the names of the fragrances in the info box in the video, they won't be off. But I actually really love the smell of Dior Addict. It's quite an original smell. It's a tonka warm vanillic ambery fragrance. But what is it in this that smells a bit green? I think this is a Terry Wasser creation. It might be a co-creation with another perfumer, but super awesome smell. Even like it's a feminine targeted release, I think there's fragrances like this now from the niche world that are unisex targeted. So I wouldn't be afraid of wearing something like this, because it's sweet in the end. It's tonka forward, it's vanillic, it's ambery, but I love that greenness. Something green running throughout it to contrast through the warmth and the sweetness and powdery touches. That's a great creation. I don't know when this bottle was bottled, but it's not one of the older, but to me, it smells super awesome. And that's 2002 once again. Then we've got Incense Avignon, really important fragrance. I think this is a Bertrand de Chauffour creation, and this is the starting point for incense fragrances. A lot of people start with this fragrance if they're looking for incense. It's also not too expensive. It's been $95 for a 50 ml for the longest time. The price might be higher now, but it smells like church. It actually smells like my church, even though my church is Christian Orthodox. This is the Catholic Church. It's super incensey, it's resinous, it's smoky, slightly sweet in the base, not necessarily too warm, even though we're speaking about incense. It has a cool, colder effect rather than like super warm. When it comes to resins, fragrances do get warm, because I consider the Dior Addict to be much warmer than the Incense Avignon from Comme des Garçons. But you're talking about incense, and you associate incense with, burning and lighting and for the smell to come out. But to me, I experience incense like that to be cooler, and there's warmer notes. So it's a bit colder. Like when you walk into a church, even though there's incense in there, the space is pretty cold, and I kind of connect that together with that. But yeah, if you're looking for an entry-level incense fragrance, Incense Avignon is definitely one to start with. It's fairly priced. I don't think it's the longest lasting fragrance. It's an eau de toilette, but once you start with that and you enjoy it, upgrade to something more complex or more intense and more expensive. So we're heading over to the year 2003 next. And the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Narciso Rodriguez For Her. And so far, I think the only fragrance that's discontinued is the M7. And even though Oud Absolu has been discontinued from the YSL USA Beauty website, I believe you can still get that in Europe. So you might find it at discounters. It's just not on the YSL USA website. A lot of the classics got removed off the YSL USA website, like Opium for Men, the Jazz, the Pour Homme. What else was there? There might be one, Rive Gauche. Rive Gauche got discontinued way before the others got pulled. But the Kouros is still on the website, though. I don't know. Sometimes brands bring things back, though, too. So just keep looking. Like for Dior, Jules had been discontinued for a long time. They brought it back on the website. I believe Dune was off of the website for a while. It's still on there. So they do all these weird things. But going back to this Narciso Rodriguez For Her is probably one of the fragrances that kickstarted the appreciation for musks. And I think Narciso Rodriguez did a great job with it. In fact, I have the men's version here as well, which is discontinued, but the women's is still selling. What I like about this one also, it's quite chypre-esque. I feel like there's patchouli and rose in this, but the musk is pretty overdosed and really wonderful. I believe it's created by Francis Kirkjian and Christine Nagel. I think that's a co-creation, whereas the men's is Francis Kirkjian only. But it's great. It's a wonderful smelling fragrance. This is also an older bottle. I've kept it in pretty good condition. I bought it off of somebody that was getting rid of it like 5-6 years ago. I need to get a new bottle though. But I actually love this DNA, and I think Narciso Rodriguez does a great job with their musky fragrances. All right. It's funny, I have to do a little segue. I talked to a lot of people about fragrances. I actually got a compliment just the other day. I had just spritzed on Decision from Amouage, which I'm starting to realize is one of the best Amouage fragrances for a long time. I'll talk about that in a future video, but when I start talking to people, they always bring up musky and how they hate musky fragrances. And I think a lot of people don't know how or what musky fragrances smell like. Try the fragrances of Narciso Rodriguez. Musk is not necessarily bad. I mean, if you like animalic musks, yeah, you can start with something like Musk Ravageur. But anyway, just a little segue. But let's move on to the second fragrance from 2003. It's Parfum the Empires Ambre Rousse. This brand's been around for quite a while. Ambre Rousse is definitely one of my favorites from this house. It's an amber once again, and it's a spicy, boozy amber. It's utilizing vodka and champagne. But as I mentioned in videos all the time, with this fragrance, I get a boozy fragrance for sure, but I also get tea and fruits, like dried fruits. It's got a very apricot-y smell. I can't remember if it has osmanthus, because osmanthus does have that kind of apricot stone fruit smell. But this was along with Ambre Sultan and Maître Parfumeur Gantier's Ambre Perso, the three ambers that I first bought when I got into doing this around 2012. And I still love them to death. But with Ambre Rousse, I think it's the notes that are in here that's giving me those vibes. It smells like dried fruits and tea. Really super awesome. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Ambre Rousse by Parfum the Empire. It's a great house, underrated. It's a perfumer-run brand. Marc-Antoine Corticchiato is the guy behind the brand. I've got a video on the house on the channel. You can go watch the video. You can understand a little bit more. They have some really awesome fragrances, but it's a brand that's not super hyped. And of course, it's definitely something worth checking out. Now let's move on to the year 2004. Next fragrance. Looks like I'm going to have to pause my video because I'm missing a fragrance, but let's talk about this one first. This is Hermès Eau de Merveille. This is it right here. Let me know if you're familiar with this. So I was always, at Saks Fifth Avenue, I was pushed this fragrance so much to buy it. I finally bought it like a year ago, and I've been wanting to feature it in a video somewhere along the way. I finally have here. And it's a fresh amber, slightly citrusy, and with the Hermès DNA. It's not super intense. And also they have the more intense amber version of it, but to me it's a fresh amber, but it's beautiful actually. It smells lovely. It's not super strong. It's kind of airy. It's not heavy, but a beautiful kind of citrusy touch in there as well. And of course the recognizable Hermès DNA is very familiar, but it's been a popular fragrance and I feel like it definitely deserves to be on the list here. This is definitely one of the best from the house of Hermès, and I'm finally glad to be talking about it. But it's, I mean, they made so many flankers of this, so it definitely deserves to be on the list. But let me know if you're familiar with this particular fragrance, Eau de Merveille from Hermès, and what do you like about it? I wouldn't rush out to buy it if you're into beefy fragrances, because that's not a beefy fragrance. It's pretty light. It's very light actually, but I love the way it smells. It smells super fantastic. All right, the next fragrance we're going to talk about from 2004 is from the house of Histoire de Parfums. This is 1740 Marquis de Sade. So two houses back to back, early French niche houses, you know, Parfum d'Empire and Histoire de Parfums. Both of them are very important niche houses that started in the early 2000s. Later on, we also have État Libre d'Orange, which came around 2006. But if you want to explore Histoire de Parfum, I think this is one of their most important fragrances. 1740 Marquis de Sade. It's super sexy. I believe it has leather. It has immortelle. I think it has patchouli. It's so good. It's super boozy. And it's aromatic for sure. And very, very spicy. I find it to be super sexy. I think the combination of the notes together are working perfectly. And it's something about it that I think, paying tribute to the Marquis de Sade, I think it totally makes sense. The leather, the patchouli sexiness, the booziness, and all that kind of stuff, the spices. It's done perfectly. I wore so much of that early on. I do like the brand quite a bit. They have a great patchouli. They have a great amber. But I think that's one of the most important fragrances from the house to be highlighted. So that is Histoire de Parfum 1740 Marquis de Sade. They don't put the Marquis de Sade on there. And I think recently they've started dropping the names. They're only leaving the year as a name. Because a lot of their fragrances have a year and what it's about. They've started dropping those names. The next fragrance, also a French house, L'Artisan Parfumeur. It's Timbuktu, another Bertrand Duchaufour creation. I actually shot a video with Bertrand earlier this year for his brand L'Entropiste, and he mentioned some of his earlier work. He started, I think, making fragrances in the early 90s, and so I think this late 90s, early 2000s onto like the early 2010s, those are his prime years, and he did some of his best work. Like, he did a lot of great fragrances. This cap is not staying on because the thing that keeps it on is off. But, you know, he did a lot of great fragrances for L'Artisan, a lot for Penhaligon's, Comme des Garçons, and you name it. So some of the most important work can be found at L'Artisan. Unfortunately, a lot of it is discontinued, sadly. But I do have a deep dive on Bertrand Duchaufour. If you're curious to learn more about him, go catch that video. But here we've got a nice fusion of vetiver and patchouli with some light fruits and spices and aromatics. Really, really gorgeous. The vetiver and patchouli, both earthy notes, work so wonderfully together. Even though I prefer patchouli over vetiver, I really love vetiver as well. And here together, they're not fighting one another. You pick up a nice amount of, well, actually, the vetiver is just slightly stronger than the patchouli in this, but it's a nice balance. It's so good. Really nice and woody, aromatic, spicy, and earthy fragrance. Love that. I think it's quite masculine as well. So if you like masculine offerings, check out Timbuktu from L'Artisan Parfumeur. And then the last fragrance for 2004 is Bois d'Argent, created by Annick Monardo. And guys, I just aired a video on Annick Monardo fragrances, a deep dive video. This was featured in it. We're talking about 38 fragrances created by Annick Monardo. So if you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. This launched as an eau de cologne, I believe, early on in 2004. I don't remember exactly when the Privé collection came out. It was moved into the Privé collection maybe towards the end of the 2000s or maybe early 2010s, but I think it was the late 2000s. But super awesome fragrance. It's myrrh, it's honeyed, it's smoky incensey, it's resinous, light and ethereal. Don't forget the iris. There's iris here as well. Super awesome, airy, ethereal, delicious fragrance. Really, really lovely. And it's interesting. I love the way this smells, but I feel like it's kind of quite light on me. But I think some people that like light fragrances prefer fragrances like this. But when you put it to your nose, it smells really great. She does great work. I mean, she did this and might even have the other fragrance in here. Do I? No, I don't have it yet. But amazing work by her. It stood the test of time. They've kept it in the collection since 2004. It's over 20 years old. And to me, it still smells great. Really, really wonderful offering. Bois d'Argent is great. Again, I always like stronger fragrances. I do have the Esprit de Parfum version of this now. And this version is great. It just doesn't last, but it smells super awesome. I love the way it smells. Let me know if you're a fan of Bois d'Argent. Have you tried the Esprit de Parfum version of it? It's quite thick compared to this. Somebody mentioned in a video comment that said it's too thick. I could see that. But I love that this is nice, airy, and ethereal. As I say, it's very, very airy and light. But you just imagine that amplified. And that's what I get with the Esprit de Parfum version. So that's Dior's Bois d'Argent. Glad it's still selling. This version is the redone version by Francois de Mache. I don't have the original Annick Minardo version because they've changed it. But this is her original creation. So Bois d'Argent. So we're moving on to the year 2005. One of my favorite fragrances. In fact, I've mentioned this quite a bit. If I didn't smell this fragrance, I probably would not be doing videos on the channel. So this is a very important fragrance for me. So we're going to the House of Guerlain. This is L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême, the original. This is the fragrance that got me to do videos. It's the one fragrance that I smelled in an Uber, a black Uber, when there was nothing but black Ubers when it first came out. The black cars is what I'm trying to say. And it's so good. This is so good. So this to me is very important, and I'm glad they haven't discontinued it. They had two versions of it. They had the EDT, which didn't have the brown around it. It was also a taller bottle. That was I think that was the EDT. I think it was EDT, yeah. It was fresher, more citruses. This version, less citruses, amped up cocoa, amped up patchouli, and amped up star anise. The combination is so intoxicating. So my Uber driver was wearing this. I took a Uber to a friend's for Thanksgiving, and I got in 2011. That's the year Uber had just launched. I got in and I'm like, what the hell is that smell? So I asked the guy, he kept trying to explain to me, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. What are you wearing? Please let me know. So at that time, the messaging system was texts. So we exchanged texts, and he was texting me photos. And finally, I got myself a bottle when I went to Europe, because it was not, I don't think this version was ever selling in the States. The original in EDT was. So yeah, if you can see the name, it's L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême, extreme fragrance. So I think that's very important. And it had a following. It was somewhat like Dior Homme Parfum, but by the time people started discovering it, I think it was already on its way out. They moved it into a bottle like this. So this is this is the Eau de Toilette version in the uniform bottle. So I guess I don't even have an EDP version. So they dropped the Eau Extrême when they launched the EDP version. They just had the EDP and the EDT. And the EDP, in comparison to the Eau Extrême, was a bit different. Because for me, the Eau Extrême is the best. The EDT was always the same, I think. They didn't change it much. It's just a fresher take on it. So it's less cocoa or cacao, less patchouli, more citruses. Star anise seems similar. But this is in this version, which is now moved into the square bottles, and I think it only comes in the EDP. And I don't have a version of it in the EDP. I better get a bottle soon. But for me, if you can find this version, you must get it. But don't spend too much money on it, because prices can be outrageous. So that is 2005. And then also, this is also very important. This is Alien by Mugler, the Dominique Ropillon creation. Super important, I think. Probably this was their other big hit. I think it came out 13 years after Angel. So Alien is more modern than Angel, I think, but not for me. I love Angel as a smell. This one, to me, is a jasmine bomb. But there's something electric about this fragrance. It doesn't, I don't know what the explanation is. I get neon from it, like something electric neon and like bright colors. I don't know if that's the way. That's what I get with Alien. As a fragrance. It doesn't really naturalistically smell like the real plant. I think what Dominic Ropion has done to the fragrance is like twisted it around, but it's become a very popular fragrance for the house. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the smell, but between Angel and Alien, I much prefer Angel. And then they brought in Alien Man as well, which didn't really work very well, unfortunately. But I think Alien's been very popular for the brand. They've even done a flanker called Alien Goddess, which took the, not necessarily the formula, but the idea into more of a tropical, vanillic, beachy, coconutty fragrance. I don't know how popular that fragrance has become. I think maybe Alien is still more popular, but I liked Alien Goddess as well. But Alien itself, I think, is definitely a very important fragrance. Alien by Mugler. Let me know if you're a fan of it. Add a comment below. We've got 2 more fragrances from the year 2005. First of which is Tower Perfume's L'air du Desert Marocain, a very important niche, indie niche offering in this case. And definitely one of the earlier ambers, but not as early as Ambre Sultan, Ambre Rousse, and even, what's the other amber that I spoke about? Ambre Presso, which is not on this list because it's a 1988 offering. But this, dry, spicy, and also a bit green and citrusy. Like, it's got an astringency because it has a petitgrain as a note. Very unique amber. Must get your nose on this. Very important. He just launched an elixir of this. Is that the name he's using? Which I must get my hands on. But the original is where it's at. It's like what started it in 2005. It's a very important fragrance in the world of niche perfumery. And I think it's probably the core of Andy Tauer's business, this fragrance. He's got other great fragrances. Wonderful offering. So that is Tower Perfume's L'air du Desert Marocain. He now has the elixir, as I said, but there's also a Cour de Desert, which is a stronger concentration. That is an eau de toilette intense. I always thought it was an eau de parfum, but it's an eau de toilette intense. And then one more fragrance from 2005. This is Un Jardin sur le Nil. I'm going with this fragrance, but the way I discovered this collection was Un Jardin en Méditerranée. Clicked with that one because I was from the Mediterranean. I'm from the Mediterranean. This is probably more influential. I think when I first got on the scene, everybody was talking about this. More than Méditerranée, Un Jardin sur le Nil. It was all about sur le Nil. So it's a pulpy fragrance. It's fruity, it's green, and once again, it's got that DNA that I mentioned I get from Eau de Merveille, from Hermès. It's got the DNA in there. I can't remember if Eau de Merveille is Jean-Claude Helena. It might be, but I know for sure Un Jardin sur le Nil is. And you've got his signature touch here quite a bit. There's mention of mangoes here. There's mention of tomatoes. Is it tomato leaves? It's green a little bit, but that pulpiness kind of reminds me of the pulpiness of the inside of a tomato. But anyway, it's all of these things people mention. It's a great scent. I always felt like it's more of a minimalistic scent in comparison to the Un Jardin en Méditerranée, which was more complex. But I think a lot of people wore this in the summertime when it's warm. It's that kind of a fragrance. You need warmth and skin for all the nooks and crannies to come out. I think I've grown to enjoy it even more now. I like its subtleties because at one time it was more intense fragrances. Now I enjoy subtle fragrances. I enjoy musks and skin scents and things like that. So your palate tends to open up and you get to enjoy things that are more subtle rather than going right to the more intense kind of beast mode kind of fragrances. So this is Un Jardin sur le Nil from the House of Hermes. Let me know if you're a fan. That collection is probably seven fragrances or 8 fragrances now. The last couple of them were launched by Christine Nagel. Is it Nagel or is it Nagel? Anyway, moving on to the year 2006. We've got a huge year. Both 2006 and 2007 are big years, even 2009, not 2008. Yeah, it's getting to be bigger and bigger lists for all the years, but in 2006, we're starting off with Molecule 1. Once again, the 150 ml bottle, or is it 200? I can't even remember. Big fan of eccentric molecules. I'm a huge fan of this whole entire collection. So we had Molecule 1 plus Cistus in our mystery box. So it's basically taking this, which launched in 2006. They're celebrating 20 years next year, by the way, and adding the Cistus note in it. And tomorrow you'll find out more details about that particular fragrance in the mystery box, because I have the reveal video for the mystery box. But in general, Molecule 1 is ISOE Super. It's a note that's used in fragrances in the base note. It's synthetic to smell like cedar and a little bit of sandalwood, because I do get a creaminess. But the note itself has muskiness, light ambery touches, but it's mostly woods. And if you've never smelled this, you're probably going to smell it and you'll be anosmic to it. Meaning you're not going to be able to smell it. Because what happened was when I first got on the scene, I got on to I got on YouTube in 2012. Then people invited me to Facebook, and then people started sending me stuff. And so first time I smelled it was from a decant of something that somebody sent me. And I kept smelling, and I'm like, where is the fragrance here? I can't smell anything. Thankfully, it was a decant. I almost threw it away, but I kept coming back to it. By the 7th time I tried, maybe it was like 5, but I started smelling it. And it actually needs skin and for that fragrance to mature and age on the skin. And now it's so super strong on me. But I think a lot of people, when they first try that fragrance, they can't smell anything. But other people will smell it on them. Your nose might be not used to this particular molecule. That's why this is called eccentric molecules. And they're using one molecule as the fragrance. So there's 2 different versions of that fragrance. In 2006, they launched Molecule 1, which is the fragrance I'm talking about. They also launched Eccentric 1. Eccentric 1 features the note that's in Molecule 1, the ISOE Super, and they've added additional notes to it, and they've made a full fragrance. In fact, a lot of the fragrances I'm talking about today might feature ISOE Super in the base notes, but they're actually using it to replace the usage of the real wood. They're chopping down the woods. It's constantly overproduction and over, what do you call it? What's the word? Like too much is being used. So I think they have these synthetic notes, and they use them instead of the real thing, so that it would be a little better to the earth, if that makes sense. But I'm actually a huge fan of Molecule 1. If I want something minimalistic, I would wear Molecule 1. It smells great, it garners compliments, and it's very minimalistic and musky and woody, and it has a huge following. In fact, out of all of the Molecule fragrances, Molecule 1 is the most popular. People really love it. People love minimalistic fragrances. Sometimes they don't want strong fragrances. But if you haven't discovered it yet, please do. It's great. The other thing I want to say before I move on, Molecule 1, all of the Molecule fragrances are perfect for layering. Most importantly, Molecule 1, Molecule 2, and Molecule 4, they're really great for layering. Molecule 3, it's the vetiviral acetate. It's so strong as a individual note that it doesn't leave room to layer, because it's a strong smell on its own. And then Molecule 5 is cashmeran or cashmere wood. It's also super strong, so it's not easy to layer with. But Molecule 1, 2, and 4 easy to layer with, and my favorite is Molecule 1 to layer with, but to wear on its own as well. All right, let's move on to Tom Ford's Black Orchid. I already mentioned Tom Ford with the M7. So I think he did 1.5 or 2 years with Yves Saint Laurent. He was in charge of releasing M7, and I believe he was also in charge of releasing Rive Gauche, which sadly I didn't have enough room to feature here because I wanted to have enough of a variety of fragrances, but that's also an important fragrance. So he launched his fragrances with Black Orchid first. It was the first fragrance, and then in 2007 he launched a lot of private blend collection fragrances. This year they also launched the reserve version of Black Orchid, which is super luxurious, by the way, if you haven't gotten your nose on this this version. This to me is a very unique smell. It's quite earthy. It's got the truffles from the earth, so there's that kind of a very earthy smell to it. It's also sweet, ambery. It's got patchouli as well, but overall it's got floral notes, but I'm not sure. They're claiming orchids, and a lot of orchids do not really have a fragrance. I actually discovered an orchid recently that did have a fragrance, but it was not a super strong smell. So maybe they're using the type of orchids that have a fragrance, or it's a imaginary orchid that they're probably creating in a accord or something. But in general, it's a nice DNA. Not my all-time favorite DNA. The reserve that I was talking about just a little while ago is really awesome, but you're pretty much getting this smell that you're familiar with Black Orchid, just more luxurious and amplified. But let me know if you're a fan of Black Orchid. It's important, definitely, especially since it started Tom Ford fragrances. And where's the next one? Everything is out of order. All right, next we've got Terre de Hermès 2006. This is the year 2006. This is a very important fragrance. I think this is a very earthy, minerally, vetiver citrus fragrance. And it's got the Hermès DNA, and it's got the Jean-Claude Elena touch. And I wore so much of this, so much of it. I bought my bottle from Nordstrom, I remember, and I bought a 50 ml bottle in 2006 after reading an article in a magazine called Departures. Tiny little article like this talked about how Jean-Claude Elena, who I didn't even know what perfumers were at that time, and I read how he created it, and it kind of matched the magazine and its articles. So I rushed to Nordstrom's and bought my bottle, and I took it with me to France. So I was wearing Terre de Hermès on that trip, but I like it. It's peppery, it's spicy, it's minerally, it's earthy, woody, grassy, and the orange is quite nice. It's a bit confusing because to me it doesn't smell like grapefruit. Sometimes I read it's grapefruit. It smells more like orange because grapefruit has a bitterness, but this is more orangey to me, I think. But a lovely scent. Definitely timeless. Next year it's going to be 20 years for this fragrance. All right, next, I'm not going to smell this one. This was actually featured last week as well. I'm putting it here because it's very influential and important. This is Secretions Magnifique. So I sprayed it last week, and it was nauseatingly gross. I'm featuring it here because it's important. It's a fragrance for people to challenge their nose and their palate in smelling as much as they can. It's Secretions Magnifique, meaning bodily secretions, and blood, sweat, tears, semen, all of these things come to mind. It's super metallic and really, really a gross smell, actually. And it was interesting, last week when I smelled it, it was towards the end of the video. This is fairly in the beginning of the video. My nose had already adjusted to all the really great smells. And when it got to that, oh man, it was awful. I'm not going to spray it now. Go watch that other video to find out more about Secretions Magnifique. Secretions Magnifique is probably one of the worst fragrances I have ever smelled. I actually visited the Atelier Libre d'Orange boutique in 2013 for the first time in Paris. And there was a guy that was working there by the name of Thomas. And he basically went through the whole line for me and some friends. we came to that. I didn't react as negatively to it as I did last week when I smelled it, even before. But it's a really vile smell. I mean, some people wear it. I don't get it, but maybe they're not affected. Scent is all subjective. So some people like some things, other people like other things, and so on. So one more fragrance from État Libre d'Orange. We're talking about Rien. As I was mentioning earlier, Histoire de Parfum, Parfum d'Empire, then État Libre d'Orange, really important French niche houses launched in the 2000s. This is also a very important fragrance. It's a bit Kouros-like. It's very old school to me. I think this is it Antoine Lee? I believe both of these are Antoine Lee fragrances. This is leathery, smoky, aldehydic, incensey. There's also a flanker of this Rien Intense Incense. They've amplified everything. More like a Kouros type fragrance. But if you like the lighter version, go with this one. So yeah, if you like Kouros and those kind of fragrances, you must smell this for something that's a bit more of a modern interpretation. Because Rien came out about 21 years after Kouros did. 21? No, like 24 years after Kouros did. This is 2006 and Kouros came out in 81. So Kouros has been reformulated a lot. But when I put my nose to Rien, it reminds me of it. Because Kouros also has aldehydes, and this has quite a bit of aldehydes. Also, it's animalic, and it's got that kind of weird civety smells. So, but very important for me as a brand and a fragrance. So, Rien from État Libre d'Orange. All right, we're going to the house of Prada next. Amber Pour Homme. So Prada's Amber Pour Homme is also very important for a powdery men's fragrance. Powdery. It's interesting, Prada does quite a bit of powdery fragrances. But what I like about this one also, it's uniquely Prada. Much better than the new Paradigm. Is that what it's called? The new one? Paradigm? Oh my God, that's such a disappointment. This is very soapy, powdery, and aromatic. I feel like there's orange blossom type notes in this as well. And a really beautiful concoction. Comes off like a powdery powdery soap. Amber Pour Homme. Résine de Labdanum de France. Feu de Patchouli d'Indonésie. I'm butchering the French. Cardamom. Saffron. So those are the notes it's mentioning. But that's in French. So I love that fragrance. Really, really love it. I don't know if it's still selling. I hope it is. Because it's definitely much better than the new Paradigm. But I think there's some things with some guys, they don't like powdery fragrances. And I was like that. I hated powdery fragrances for the longest time. A long time. In fact, if you guys don't know, I hated vanilla for a long time. But I love both of them now. I love powdery. I love iris. Let's move on to this next one. This is a very, very important fragrance. This is Lalique's Encre Noire. Oh my God. When I first started shooting videos in 2012, so many people were talking about this. And even at that time, 2012, launched in 2006, so 6 years later, you can find this at the discounters for $35. Definitely one of the best cheapies out there. And I prefer the L'Extreme version of this. A la Extreme is what I should say. But the original is what started it all. They have 3 versions. In fact, they also have a women's version, which smells nothing like this. This is vetiver. It's also cypress. It's ambery resinous. It's dark and smoky. It's more of a modern take on what Guerlain's vetiver is, but more into a darker direction. Created by Nathalie Lorson. Very important fragrance. And I mean, I've given so many bottles of this to relatives because it's a quality offering for really inexpensive, when some of my relatives want quality fragrances, but I mean, they wouldn't know, oh, I mean, it's cheap. Oh, I thought this was like $150 or something is what they would say. So they wouldn't know it's at the discounters for such low prices is what I'm trying to say. But like I said, I prefer the a la Extreme a lot more because it's a bit more luxurious the way it comes off. It also reminds me a little bit more of Sycamore by Chanel. Yeah, if you want an alternative to Sycamore, go with Encre Noire or go with the extreme version, the more stronger version. It's an eau de parfum versus this one being eau de toilette. There's also the sport. To me, it's also great. Not necessarily sporty, but I think they're throwing in grapefruit and it comes off a bit salty. It reminds me a little bit of Annick Goutal's discontinued vetiver fragrance. All three of the Encre Noirs are great. If you like masculine offerings, go with all three. Anyway, Lalique Encre Noire, super awesome scent. Definitely deserves to be here and spoken about. Let me know if you've discovered Encre Noire. It's a very important fragrance to me. And very influential in the 21st century. So next, we're going to the year 2007. Okay, we've got Kilian, we've got Tom Ford, we've got Amouage. But what? Wait, what? I'm sorry, guys, I forgot one fragrance. All right, I guess I forgot one fragrance from the year 2006. Rose 31 by Le Labo. So I need to really pay attention to make sure I don't skip anything because it'll throw off my list in the info box. So Rose 31 is the very first fragrance from Le Labo that I purchased. And I think this is a launch that happened at the beginning when Le Labo first launched. So it's a spicy masculine rose, I think. It's also a very popular DNA, which is also used in Fairmont Hotels products. It was for a long time. In fact, I won't get into the details, but when I was on Facebook a lot, there were these people that were doing something scammy with stealing hotel products and selling them online. A lot of them were Le Labo Rose 31 products. But I've been a fan of this DNA for a long time. It's super spicy. I think it's rose and vetiver, so it comes off very dry. There's a little bit of caraway or cumin-like note in here, but it's a dry masculine take on rose. And it's great DNA to this day. I was mentioning in another video, Le Labo has not done any updates to their fragrances. They have never made an extract or anything. I'm surprised Estee Lauder is not pushing them to do that. What do you guys think? Would you prefer that? Although I feel like the fragrance prices are going to be extremely intense if they do things like that, because the city exclusives are already really, really expensive. So if they do start doing anything like that, we're going to be dealing with expensive prices because their fragrances in general are really, really pricey. And of course, the city exclusives are even more pricey. So if they did any, like Byredo just started doing the Absolus. So I have a feeling if Le Labo also starts, they'll be doing the same thing. But Rose 31, if you haven't explored Le Labo yet, I would recommend starting with Rose 31. Maybe Bergamot 22, you name it. But let's move on to 2007. We've got two fragrances by Kilian, Love Don't Be Shy and Straight to Heaven from 2007. So we'll start with Love Don't Be Shy first. So for me, I think these two are most important. For me, I bought Straight to Heaven first from the brand, and then I bought Love Don't Be Shy. I think Love Don't Be Shy has gotten lighter. It's not as deep and intense as it used to, but the idea is still there. It's a marshmallowy, vanillic take on Orange Blossom Neroli. So they're combining that orange blossom note with the sweet stuff, which definitely is a delicacy in some parts of the Mediterranean. And the orange blossom is used in, vanillic, tasty food items. I've eaten it many times. And I think because of that, I really love this DNA. It smells great. It's sugary, it's sweet and floral, and it reminds me of Jordan almonds most of the time. But we have this delicacy that's this really fluffy ice cream with it's a vanillic ice cream with the flavoring of the neroli and sprinkling with pistachios. It's so good. It's like eating citrus flowers with a creamy, milky, vanillic consistency. And of course, the nuttiness from the pistachios on top. Such a heavenly dessert. So I think that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with this DNA. But most of the time, I think women tend to really like this DNA more than guys. But I actually love the smell. It's almost like I'm eating this dessert as I'm smelling it. So yum. So that's Love Don't Be Shy. But as I said, the first fragrance I bought from Kilian House is Straight to Heaven. I don't remember if the bottles are still this color. I think they might have redone them. These bottles are also not so, they're a bit fragile. Any little over handling, the label falls off in the front. Patchouli. This is why I love this fragrance. It was a love at first sniff. I think it's gotten thinner. I've gifted it to people, and I myself, along with those people, complain that the longevity is not that great. But it's patchouli, so it does have great lingering power, but it doesn't feel thick and dense. So I think what they've done here is dried fruits, rum, slight vanillic sweetness, but earthy patchouli. Together, the combination is so intoxicating. So good. They've had the Extreme, and I don't know if they've brought the Extreme back since. I haven't paid attention much to Kilian since the late 2010s, but I think it's a great DNA. Definitely one to, look into if you're new to the world of niche and you want to explore Kilian. Straight to Heaven. So we've got that. And then we're going to go to the house of Tom Ford. We've got 4 fragrances we're going to talk about. I think the 4 private blend fragrances from Tom Ford, the most important ones, we've got Tobacco Vanille. This is not in alphabetical order, unfortunately. So Tobacco Vanille, very important fragrance. 2007, spicy, vanilla. And it's, there's like clovey kind of cinnamony spice. There's also a gingery touch in there as well, but I think ginger is not as, like a reported note. There's a fruitiness, and there's also a bit of a cacao touch. There's also a bit of a chai touch as well. But vanilla and tobacco together, one of the best fragrances ever created. I don't remember who did this. Is it Olivier Guillotin? He did such an amazing job on that. I love that DNA. It's an awesome, awesome scent. Then I'm going to talk about Noir de Noir. I think these 4 private blend creation fragrances are very, very important. They've been around since day one, and they're still out there selling. But I think the very first private blend collection fragrance I bought from Tom Ford is Noir de Noir. I absolutely love this DNA. This is also utilizing the truffles that's in Black Orchid. But rose, moss, patchouli, oud. So good. Really, really great. Really awesome stuff. Yeah, this has also not been, they haven't given the flanker treatment for this. The next 2, they have given the flanker treatment, but my 2 favorites in the 4 I'm going to talk about haven't been given the flanker treatment, but this next one, not this one. This is Oud Wood. So Oud Wood has been given the flanker treatment. I think it's a very popular offering from the house. They did the Intense, which was super animalic. If I have a bottle of it. They just did the Parfum edition of it. But it's a nice masculine, spicy Western oud fragrance. Super spicy, woody, It's got cardamom. The cardamom is so stand out here. Very, very noticeable. But a great DNA. I think it's been copied quite a bit. I think Oud Wood also came in the brown bottle before, like this. But I think in 2013, they launched Tobacco Oud Fleur, and then they rebottled the Oud Wood into this gray bottle. I think that's what happened, from what I remember. But definitely a great DNA. That's why it's been flankered. And lastly, it's Tuscan Leather. This is probably the least important of the four, but very important still, because they have done the ombre leather. But I think this is definitely a game changer. I think leather fragrances were not like this before this. It was more like, you know, Canise 10, fragrances like, you know, Curda. There's definitely a very industrial smell to it, a bit greasy, slightly animalic, floral, and fruity. More than Tuscan Leather, I enjoyed Noble Leather from YSL. It was in this square bottle when that was out. And I think when YSL launched their Le Vestiaire collection, that square bottle collection of their luxury scents got discontinued. Some of those moved into the Le Vestiaire collection, but Noble Leather didn't. And what I like about Noble Leather was that it was more of a stone fruit, apricot, peach, something like that, combined with leather. So good. I do like Tuscan Leather, but for me, between the four private blend collection fragrances from Tom Ford that I really, really love, Tobacco Vanille and Noir de Noir are hands down some of the best. So next, we've got Amouage's Jubilation 25. Sorry, a little out of breath there. This is a very important fragrance. I remember early on in 2012 hearing so many people bragging about how great this is. So early on, I bought a bottle of it from, what's the name of the? There's the, it'll come to me. I bought a bottle from a retailer that no longer exists in the USA. And it was a discount niche fragrance retailer, which is popular in Notino is what I'm talking about. And they were not anything like I had heard what the fragrance was all about. So I quickly wrote to them and said, these don't smell like the fragrance I'm supposed to have. In fact, now that I've gone into this, they were so different. They smelled like fakes. They were like literally smelling like fakes. So but this is oudi, spicy, woody, and also patchouli. I think it's got good lingering power, but it's super thin. I think it's gone through some reformulations. And I'm glad that they launched the 40 version, the extract. It is thicker, denser, but also a bit different in smell. So not identical to this, but I like that a lot. And I like this too. This is if I want something to linger with me, but not overwhelm as far as the smell goes. I like that. It's super sexy. It's another Bertrand Duchaufour creation. So far, I've got 3 here, I believe, that he's created. Let me know if you're a fan of this. Are you a fan of the 40? It's good. It's really good. I think my bottle is also, this is from 2021. It's gotten pretty deep. All right. We've got 2 more fragrances to talk about. First of which is Narciso Rodriguez for him. Francis Kurkdjian. This, I think he created such a masterpiece here. I don't know why they discontinued this fragrance, man. It's so good. So in the back, this is a tester I bought online. Musky, woody fougere, a masculine signature, contemporary, elegant, and sensual. So I have a lot of stories about fragrances. I actually tested this out probably for the first time towards the latter part of the 2000s at an airport. I tested it, loved the smell. I spritzed on myself so much. Got on the plane. I probably really ticked off a lot of people. I think my bottle is turned though, sadly. I could still smell it. So this is violets, or in this case, I think it's violet leaves. It has a very gray smell to it. I think it's appropriate, the color of the bottle. It's musky for sure. It's also powdery. It's a bit minerally, and it's a very modern take on a fougere. I wouldn't call that like a fougere. That reminds me of Fougere Royale or Tom Ford's Beau de Jour, something like that. But as a smell, it's so awesome. It's a great, great smell. And sad it's discontinued. I think it's just not a very popular smell. It also reminds me a little bit of something like Jeffrey Bean, Gray Flannel, Portrayal Man by Amouage, maybe Fahrenheit, the original EDT. It's got those kind of touches. It's violet leaves, so it's powdery and, musky here in this case. Not super green, though. This is more ozonic. So I want to highlight the Eau de Parfum version as well. Thankfully, my Eau de Parfum version is pretty good still. I'm savoring this one because this is definitely super sexy. This is actually muskier. This is not a tester bottle. So good. Francis Kurkdjian was doing some great work in the 2000s. I love this. This is got a bit of funk. So it was a bit confusing for me because they also have a musk version or musk edition. So I've looked into it. A lot of people have mentioned to me the Eau de Parfum is the musk edition. This is muskier. Like literally, it's like original musk without the warmth. It's more like ozonic fresh violet. But there's that muskiness under there. Oh man, that's good. Now, I think the Vetiver Musk is the latest one from Narciso Rodriguez. I have a feeling next year we'll get a new one. They launched the Vetiver Musk last year. They haven't launched anything for the guys this year yet. But for me, For Him Blue Noir Parfum is so good. The For Him Blue Noir Parfum, actually shot a video of a lot of the fragrances of Narciso Rodriguez, which will air very soon. I think that one is an awesome scent. It's actually the kind of the original For Him Blue Noir is like vetiver. It reminds me a little bit of Terre de Hermes. But then Sonia Constant, who's a perfumer of that line, that collection, also added that kind of a DNA of Dior Homme Intense Dior Homme Parfum in there. So you've got like Terre de Hermes and Dior Homme Intense powdery together. Super awesome scent. So stay tuned for that video. But if you can get your hands on this somewhere along the way, Narciso Rodriguez For Him, EDP, or the EDT, highly, highly worth it. It's definitely very, very important. Sadly, it's discontinued, but oh well. Next, the last fragrance in the year 2007, Chanel Coromandel. This is also very, very important. Really, really important fragrance. I love this. This is, next to Le Lion, this might be my favorite, but I feel like it's tied between the two. So what I love about this, a lot of people mention white chocolate. Chanel credits benzoin, and I think it's the benzoin resin, which is vanillic, mixed with patchouli's earthiness, woodiness, creates this kind of a white chocolate effect. But remember, we say with the Jovois psychedelique, it's like chocolate cake. I think when the patchouli hits the resins and the balsams and the vanillic notes, it creates that effect. But here, I think it's just the benzoin, not a lot of resins, not vanilla, not any kind of other resinous notes, or even something like labdanum to give it more of a deeper chocolatey effect. Whereas the benzoin, it's kind of lighter and not overwhelmed with too much resins is giving it more of a like like white chocolate effect. But it's super sexy, and I've had this bottle for a while, even though this is the eau de parfum. There's got to be the eau de parfum. I don't see the, I thought they had written eau de parfum on it, but I don't see eau de parfum written on it. So in 2016, Chanel launched a fragrance called Boy. And at that time, they redid, just after that, they launched Boy in eau de parfum. And we heard at that time that they were going to redo all of their less exclusive fragrances into eau de parfum. So a lot of people got pissed off. The eau de toilettes were better than the eau de parfums, and there was all kinds of uproar. That is an eau de parfum, but it's been aging in that bottle for a while. I've had that for a good 7-8 years. It smells good. It's also a bit boozy, which I think patchouli, once it's mixed with resins, does that. Super sexy. I love it. Coromandel from the House of Chanel. Let me know if you're familiar with that. So that's the last fragrance from 2007. I've got one fragrance from 2008, going back to Santa Maria Novella. Not in this video, but from the last video. Tobacco Toscano. I don't know what it is. I mentioned the story in the last video. This is a very important fragrance. It's probably one of the most popular from the brand. And I went to the first time I went to a Santa Maria Novella store was in the city of Cannes in the south of France. But obviously it's from Florence, Firenze, and they have this most amazing store. In fact, on the channel, I've shot a video tour of the entire Santa Maria Novella pharmacy and behind the scenes shots. So if you ever make it to Florence and you go to the Santa Maria Novella pharmacy, you will not have access to behind the scenes shots. So go find my video and watch that video. I've got a great tour guide. I forgot his name now. It's been many years. But I discovered this fragrance not thinking it was like going to be one of their more popular, just fell in love with it on the spot in Cannes. So it's in like around 2011, 2012 is when I was there. And walking by, I saw a store and I'd never been inside a store before. And this turned out to be a really great scent. But as I mentioned in the video last week, this seems like they've redone their bottles. It used to be like when you bought these bottles, it used to have a cap, no sprayer, and they would give you the sprayer separately, and you would take the bottle in a box, and the sprayer wouldn't fit in there, and you would take your cap off and put your sprayer on and use it that way, or use it as a splash bottle. Now it's on, it's permanent. But since that change, there's a bit more smokiness in the fragrance than I remember. It didn't have a lot of smokiness before. It was more creamy. Like, it almost felt like coconutty, sandalwoody, creamy with tobacco leaves and some vanillic touches. Now I feel like they've changed the formula a little bit. They've added a bit more smoke, so it's acting more like tobacco now. Burnt ashy tobacco instead of like leafy tobacco. But still, I think the same DNA is there. And very important fragrance, I think, Tobacco Toscano. And go figure, I actually went right to the fragrance. I loved the way it smelled. It's an eau de cologne, so it's light, but really, really enjoyed it. So if you're looking to explore the brand, definitely check that fragrance out and actually check that video out. It's like I said, behind the scenes. Not only you get the scenes of where you normally would walk if you went to the Santa Maria Novella pharmacy store in Florence, you get behind the scenes, like places you can't have access to. All right, we're moving on to the year 2009. So we've got Black Afghano. This came out in 2009. I started doing videos in 2012. Everybody was talking about this fragrance, everybody. In fact, a lot of video reviews were on YouTube at the time for this. That's one of the reasons why I went to Barney's to buy it early on. And that's one of the reasons how I discovered Portrait of a Lady and how it became my favorite fragrance. But people were talking about it. I think it's an important fragrance, very influential. But I think the DNA's been done so much now. I mean, this was one of the first times I smelled something like this. but I've smelled throughout the years since the first time I smelled it in 2012, somewhere around there. Since then and now, I've smelled fragrances like this quite a bit. But to me, it's dark, it's smoky, it's hashish, it's coffee, and oud. It's fiery hot, but dark and kind of muted and gray as well. When I first went to buy that fragrance, the associate there I got to know throughout the years, first time I dealt with her to buy that, she said, oh, we get these people coming in all the time. They buy not one bottle, but 3-4 bottles at once. Because it's a 30 ml bottle. It's an extrait of Parfum. I was like, really? Why would people be buying so many bottles? So, yeah. Let me know if you're a fan of Black Afghano. Do you think it's important? Add a comment below. So, once again, I don't have my bottle of Bal d'Afrique. I can't find it. I don't know what happened to it. Somebody stole it. But Bal d'Afrique is very important. It's the very first Byredo fragrance I ever bought. And it's a really nice vetiver that's not super vetiver-like, even though it features the vetiver. I feel like vetiver as a note leans masculine, but I felt like Bal d'Afrique is quite unisex. It's a really great DNA. In fact, I've seen it in hotel products. That smell is used in a lot of hotel products that I've stayed at. And so it's a very familiar DNA. That's what I love it. It's universally loved. I think it's most popular. In fact, because it's so popular for Byredo, they have an Absolute version. I don't think it's the most popular, but it's one of the top 5 most likely. That's why they released him. But if you're looking for vetiver, you like the idea of it, but you think it might be leaning too masculine, too woody, try Bal d'Afrique. It has, softer touches, not so earthy, and, the kind of woody, earthy smell that vetiver is. But the next one, also in 2009 from Byredo, is Blanche. This is also very, very important. These are the fragrances I have in my collection. I don't know where the Bal d'Afrique is. Blanche is, I think, quite important for this 21st century, because I think aldehydes were kind of out of style. And this launched in 2009, and it's become a very popular fragrance. It's fizzy, sparkling, effervescent, soapy and clean and laundry-like. And just a very kind of easygoing, kind of lazy Sunday kind of day fragrance, I feel like I mentioned Lazy Sunday, but there's a fragrance called Lazy Sunday Morning from Replica Maison Margiela that also does the aldehydes. Between the two, I think this is far superior. I like it. And so I feel like it's definitely important to highlight this. Let me know what your thoughts are on Blanche and also on Bal d'Afrique. But let's move on to Nicolai, Parfums de Nicolai Patchouli Intense, also launched in 2009. If you're a patchouli lover and you're exploring all the patchouli you can get your hands on, and you've never smelled this, you'll be surprised at how different it smells compared to other patchouli fragrances. It's so different than any other patchoulis I've smelled. It's, first of all, very aromatic and green, and ambery in the base, but this is not chocolate whatsoever. Nothing like the Coromandel, nothing like Psychedelique, which I have here. Truly, truly original. It's almost like it's an overgrowth of vegetation, and it's this big farm or land, and it's overgrowth with a lot of vegetation, and under the vegetation you have this growth of patchouli. And so you're digging in, chopping it up, and you're chopping up this vegetation, and also the patchouli is being like cleared away as well. And the smell is kind of mixing in the air, and you get this kind of a smell here. This is probably one of the most popular fragrances from Nicolai, next to New York Intense. So that is Patchouli Intense from Parfums de Nicolai. And then this is also very important. Sadly, it's not in this bottle anymore, but I didn't really care for these bottles. But unfortunately, since it's moved into the bell jars, not going to be distributed very widely anymore. I'm talking about Fianagi from the house of Serge Lutens. One of the best Christmas tree fragrances out there. To me, this smells like a Christmas tree. Snow-covered Christmas trees you're seeing from your cabin where the fire's burning and you're having some kind of a fruity delicacy. That's the picture I'm going to paint with this fragrance. Oh man, it's good. Also, I did mention smoke like a fireplace. So because this has incense, it's got the pine trees. It's a bit cool. It's warmed up by something fruity, like you're eating a fruit compote. Probably one of the best fragrances from Serge Lutens. In fact, I think this is my favorite. So good. Sadly, it's not in this bottle. I mean, I didn't care for these bottles personally. They're just too big, too tall, and too thin. So they killed this whole collection. They killed it, no more. And they moved everything into the bell jars. So that collection's gone. If you want to buy Fianagi, you're going to have to buy it in a bell jar. And you can order it off their USA website, but they don't have distribution anymore. You can't find them in stores. Directly off the USA website now. So we've got Juliet Has a Gun's Not a Perfume as well. I mean, this probably was the influence for a lot of minimalistic fragrances that came after this. Of course, we already discussed Molecule 1. That's important in 2006. And then 2009, we got the Not a Perfume, which is Cetalox, which is a cousin of Ambroxan. That's the only note in it. And once again, if you're a nosmic, you're not going to smell anything. I'm picking up something very, very light. It's so minimalistic. It's super musky, clean, ambery, maybe a bit salty, watery, aquatic, but also very dusty. This is for the person that does not want to wear perfume. This also mixes with your own body chemistry and creates a bit of a musk. But it's super light. Let me know if you're a fan of it. Do you use it to layer? That's not a perfume from the house of Juliet Has a Gun. One more fragrance from 2009, and my bottle is way at the bottom. This is Yves Saint Laurent's La Nuit de la Homme. So I mentioned the Terre de Hermès and how I bought it and took it to France. When I took that to France, the fragrance that was launching was La Nuit. I saw it everywhere in all the stores I went to, you know, where they sell perfume. La Nuit was everywhere. I never really cared for that fragrance, but I actually really liked La Nuit de la Homme. I liked it for its spicy intensity, and the cardamom was realistic smelling. So it's in the series, it's been my favorite. And still enjoy here. It's got a very distinct smell, an original smell. But it's super spicy and fresh. I love that. Yeah, I admit I love the smell. I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of YSL, signature line fragrances, but I actually love the way that smells. They launched a version a couple of years ago. Was it called Blue Electric? I think I bought one bottle. But the original is quite good. Is it Dominique Ropion? I think he's involved in the creation of this. Okay, so that's 2009. We're moving on to the year 2010. We've got three fragrances, three very important fragrances. One designer, two niche houses. First of which is Aventus by Creed. Very important fragrance. Definitely very influential. One of the most important fragrances, I think. Even though I think it's not... I mean, I don't know how much money Creed's made from this fragrance. My bottle is a bit old, I think. It's a freshie, so I have to be cautious with fresh fragrances. They do turn fast, but I think it's the very initial blast. I think it's settling to something nice. It's also not the most fruity version, and I'm going to talk about the batch codes. The batch codes. Is it the fruity batch code? Is it the smoky batch code? The more woody batch code? I used to get those comments all the time. But you know, it's pineapple, it's woods, it's mossy notes, some citruses, maybe a little fruits like apple. It's a very, very copied DNA. Super copied DNA. I think it's a dumb reach fragrance. I enjoy wearing it, but not anything super groundbreaking. The one I think is more important is Portrait of a Lady. Super important. And the story with Black Afghano. So 2 weeks after I bought Black Afghano, I went and bought a Portrait of a Lady bottle. I think as I was buying the Black Afghano, people were testing the Portrait of a Lady, and that whole area, all I could smell was Portrait of a Lady. I asked my sales associate, I said, what the heck is that smell? Let me know. Oh, they're buying Portrait of a Lady. I'm like, okay, this is Barney's in 2012. And yeah, the rest is history. Dominique Ropion has created something very, very important here. Super spicy. There's warm spices in here. I think like cloves. I think I was just mentioning this in another video recently, and I forgot the cloves or the spices. But there's incense. You can smell the incense totally. There's the fruits, the raspberry. There's the patchouli, the rose, of course, and the incense. There's a little bit of, resinous amber in the base. But in the end, it's like a modern Chypre style fragrance. When you smell the night from Frederic Malle, it gives me a little bit of the DNA of Portrait of a Lady. Have you guys smelled the night? It's a real oud. Super funky, but enjoyable. I really enjoy that oud. But I feel like you can layer Portrait of a Lady with the night, because I feel like there's complementing notes. But Portrait of a Lady, hands down, one of the best fragrances ever created. It's a masterpiece. Have you worn it? Sure, it's not the same, but it's what happens with fragrances. They're constantly getting reformulated. And the last fragrance from 2010 is this. Bleu de Chanel by Chanel. Very important fragrance. Super important. Not the biggest fan of Bleu de Chanel, but I can understand its appreciation. To me, it doesn't smell like a fragrance that would come from Chanel, with them being so stuck up and everything. I'm saying that. It's a pretty, I don't know. It's a pleasant scent. It's the Aventus of Chanel. Kind of watermelony, woody, spicy fragrance. This is like the ultimate in dumb reach fragrances, you know? Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'd wear it, but I would wear this on a day I don't want to be bothered with fragrance, but I want fragrance, kind of a thing. This and Aventus, similar. So that is Chanel Bleu de Chanel, but very important, I think. We've got so many flankers of that one now. Moving on to the year 2011. This is getting close to when I started doing videos. So the year I started doing videos is 2012. So we're 1 year before. Then we've got Atelier Cologne's Orange Sanguine. And Orange Sanguine had already, reached peak popularity by the time I started doing videos. I'm featuring it here. It's still selling out there. But I mentioned on an Instagram post, I actually saw a store in Beijing when I was in China, which I know the brand folded from the Americas and they were selling. I mean, I got all these people wrote, oh, it sells near me. It's on Notino. Uh, it's in France. And I'm like, where in France? I go to France all the time. I go perfume shopping all the time. I never see it. So I got all this stuff. So, but going back to this, Orange Sanguine is one of the most realistic orange scents ever. The problem with this fragrance is its longevity. I don't know if you guys have performance issues, but as a realistic smell of oranges, it's real. It smells authentic. Orange Sanguine means blood orange from the House of Atelier Cologne. This is very important. Not one of my all-time favorite fragrances, Santal 33. Pickle juice. Do you guys get pickle juice from Santal 33? Ooh. Yeah, this fragrance, not a favorite. For a while, I was going back and forth to appreciating it, but lately I just don't like this DNA. I don't know why this is so popular. It's apparently one of their most popular at Le Labo. Is it your favorite Le Labo fragrance? I much prefer Rose 31, much prefer Bergamot 22, Ylang 49, Another 13, but Santal 33, I think it's because it rhymes so well. That's why people like it, right? I don't know. It's a sandalwood that's crunchy, a bit green. It has cypriol or something like papyrus. And I think it's this note that's giving you the pickle juice vibes. I get that as a comment all the time. It smells like pickle juice. But more importantly, this is a very important fragrance for me. The very first Creed fragrance I bought was Royal Oud. I got it and I did an unboxing on the previous channel. And it was like 2012 when I did that. Early 2013, somewhere around there. I was like, I've never smelled anything like this before. And it's good. It's quite good. It's actually Julienne Rascanet, who trained under Pierre Bourdon. Pierre Bourdon did a lot of Creed fragrances. If you guys haven't read the book, The Ghost Perfumer, read it. There's a lot of drama around Creed. A lot. But what I like about this is one of the most original smells. I just wish it was stronger or more potent. To me, the cedar is so awesome. The angelica is so awesome. It's also got this greenness from galbanum, I believe. But for me, way in the back, there's something ashy, smoky in there. It doesn't really act like oud. This is like the non-oud fragrance. It's more woods and greens and spices. I think it's super sexy too. That's definitely one of Julienne Rascanet's earliest works. Royal Oud. Definitely a top 10. Is it a top 10 Julienne Rascanet fragrance? We'll have to come back to that later. Okay, Creed Royal Oud in 2011. Jovoy Psychedelique also in 2011. I first smelled this fragrance January 2015. I'm kind of good with dates. I was like, damn, that's good. Chocolate cake and patchouli together. This is patchouli chocolate cake. It's so good. It's so delicious. The patchouli is so earthy, but it's balanced out with all the resins and balsamic notes and vanillic notes to make it kind of act like a chocolate cake. I could also go and say it's kind of not necessarily imitating chocolate as much as it is imitating carob. I don't know if you guys know carob. I think in the 70s, a lot of people were using carob in place of chocolate. And this acts more like carob than chocolate because I think it smells like carob. But this fragrance is so awesome. So awesome. Super intoxicating and long lasting as well. It's beastly. Amazing trail with this one. Amazing trail. Psychedelic, and it has one of the best names in fragrances. And this next fragrance, I haven't talked about this in years. Pure Havana. So important. This, pure malt, pure coffee, amen, pure chili. These fragrances, cologne, all of these Mugler fragrances people talked about so much. Don't worry, I have 2 backup bottles of this. Is L'Oreal going to bring this back, though? Do you think they will bring it back? They haven't yet. So, Pure Havana. It's a tonka, cherry, tobacco, ambery, honeyed concoction that's super original for a designer. At one time, I preferred pure malt more, but later on, I got to enjoy Pure Havana more and more. It's super original as a smell. I had not smelled anything like this when I first started doing videos. This is so awesome. Like, wow. In fact, when I first started wearing Pure Havana and Pure Malt, because I didn't buy them, I hadn't started doing videos yet when it launched. It was like a year to a year and a half later I bought it, along with Pure Malt. And I took 2 bottles of fragrances on a 1-month trip to Italy. It was December and January, and I wore nothing but Pure Malt and Pure Havana that trip. And I love this. It's so good. I wish they would bring it back. But please, L'Oreal, bring this back in eau de parfum. Bring it back in parfum. But please bring it back. It's so good. So that's Pure Havana from Mugler. Amen. It used to be called Terry Mugler. On my bottle, it says Mugler. So this is the Mugler version. I do have to say the bottles were not that good. The Mugler bottles for men were not that good. They were supposed to be like flasks. So when they first launched them, no, they had the rubber and they also had the special carry. So you used to be able to just get the filling and you put it in the flask. I don't even think I have the flask anymore. But anyway, moving on. Well, the last fragrance for 2011 is Mancera's Cedrat Boisé. But I don't have a bottle of Cedrat Boisé. I have the Intense. I've run out of the regular, so I'm featuring these Intense. But it's a year after, I guess, Creed's Aventus came out. Mancera brought Cedrat Boisé. Is it inspired by Aventus? Personally, I find that the Aventus is not as juicy of a fragrance as I find the Mancera Cedrat Boisé to be. I really love the juiciness of the citruses, and I think there's no pineapple in the Mancera, whereas there's the pineapple in the Creed. And I think the birch or something dark comes in and takes away from the juiciness of Aventus. That's why a lot of people were talking about batch codes and is it more fruity, is it more citrusy, or whatever all the different batch codes were. I found Mancera's Cedrat Boisé to be a lot juicier, and I kind of prefer it. And even though it says it's all citruses, you do get a slight fruity, pineapple-y touch from it. And even though I'm smelling the Intense here, I have an idea of exactly how the Cedrat Boisé original is. It's a really nice, fresh, citrusy, woody fragrance. Totally the type of fragrance guys would wear that don't want to wear something complicated, but they want to smell great, you know? So that is Cedrat Boisé from Mancera. And of course, I am flashing my Intense Cedrat Boisé bottle. So that's 2011. Now we're moving on into the year 2012. So I started shooting videos in 2012. In 2012, my very first video was in August of 2012. And I can't even remember what it was because that channel is no longer. But starting with the first fragrance, it's Amouage's Interlude Man. Very important fragrance. I think it's important because of the oregano. The oregano is so unique in this fragrance. So it's smoky amber, dark and dry, resinous, bold, and of course that oregano just cuts through like you've not smelled anything like this before. But in the end, if you like an amber but you don't want it sweet and resinous, you want it dark and smoky, this is the kind of amber you would pull for. Go with something like this. One time it used to be the most popular fragrance from Amouage. That's why they have 3 different flankers. Is it 4? I think it's just 3. They have this, the Black Iris, and then they have the Extract. So I think right now the more popular fragrance from Amouage is Guidance. But honestly, guys, Decision. Oh my God, I am loving Decision from Amouage. Oh, it's so good. It reminds me of Christmas trees. It reminds me of a creamy snow-covered Christmas tree with incense smoke running throughout it. I absolutely love it. And I was wearing it the other night, and I got a compliment by the guy at the register that I was checking out at. And luckily, I had my bottle because I was testing it out and wearing it. And I took it out and sprayed it for him, and he was in heaven. I was wondering where he could get it from and all that kind of stuff. So I first reacted okay with that fragrance, but it has grown on me, and I really appreciate Decision now. Anyway, let's move on to the next fragrance, Herod by Parfums Marly. Very important fragrance for me, and the first fragrance from this house that I bought 2 years after it launched. I bought it in 2014. I did an unboxing video on the channel. Olivier Pechot created this. Sadly, he passed away. There's a dedication video I've done about his fragrances. This one's definitely featured in there. Olivier Pechot did a lot of diptyque fragrances, but this is a fragrance that I'm obsessed with. I still love the smell. It's so good. So good. It's spicy, it's fruity, it's vanillic, it's tobacco ash, but not kind of like a it's got ash, but not super intense like other ashy fragrances. It's just a right balance. It's so good. And my bottle is so old that everything is like aged in there. It's smelling really awesome now. I kind of want to drink it. I won't drink it, don't worry. This next fragrance is very important also. It launched in 2012. I bought it the following year because it was the year... What is this? It was the year after that it came out that it was the year I started doing videos, but the year after I bought it. I ordered it and it came in the mail, and it was like, wow, I remember Eau Sauvage, but this is something on another level. So Eau Sauvage Parfum 2012, this is all I have in my bottle, unfortunately. So I don't know why they reformulated this fragrance. The original is bergamot, vetiver, and myrrh. The new version is similar. Myrrh is removed and replaced with elemi. But I think the myrrh edition is much better. So good. It's good. Yeah. So it's Eau Sauvage much deeper. So this is when Dior started making parfum editions of their most classic fragrances. They started out with Eau Sauvage in 2012. In 2014, they did Fahrenheit. Actually, Fahrenheit came out January 2014. In fact, I was in France when they put it out. I brought my bottle, came to United States, back to United States, and shot a video of it. And then towards the end of the year, they launched the DHP Parfum. But this is the one that kicked it off. And to me, this version is so awesome. I think I mentioned in a video recently also. Last summer, I was in France and I went to, look for fragrances at the Marionnaud store somewhere near my hotel. And there I saw a tester of Eau Sauvage Parfum. And the tester was of the 2012 version, and the version they were selling was the 2017 version. I tried to talk them into letting me buy the tester. They just would not, absolutely would not. Like 4 people came, I was translating, they would just not budge. Like I was saying, just give me the tester, use this as your tester because this is the one you're selling, and put the tester in my bottle and I'll walk away like I don't know anything. And they just wouldn't do it because I want another bottle of this because it's so good. But yeah, I like this deeper version, super sexy version of Eau Sauvage. They've completely, I mean, there's freshness here because it's got the bergamot, but it's much deeper and resinous and, more intense because, the myrrh is adding all that ambery base to it. Really, really awesome scent. Then we've got this feminine fragrance called La Vie Espelle that was also launched in 2012. This kind of reminds me of this, Coco Mademoiselle. But something about the Lancôme, it's softer. It's a different DNA, but there's something about it that reminds me of Coco Mademoiselle. There's also something about that fragrance that reminds me of there's an oud fragrance from Montal. Oud Mazing. You guys remember that? It reminds me of the DNA of the La Vie Espelle and also the Coco Mademoiselle. Try it next time if you notice the similarities. I mean, it's a very popular DNA, I think. I think they've made so many flankers. My favorite is the Elixir, is it? L'Extrait is the version that I've actually done a short video on. I've never spoken about this fragrance, but I've had it for a long time. I found a great deal on it. But a couple of years ago, I was in France and I smelled the L'Extrait, fell in love with it. It's a Dominique Ropion and Filippo creation. And it's got oud with fruits and with lots of iris. Super awesome scent. If you haven't tried that version, try it. This version is nice. It's soft and it's a very popular DNA. Let me know if you're a fan of it. And does it remind you of Oud Mazing from Montal? Do add a comment below. So I'm talking about a fragrance next that I can't find my bottle. I don't know where my bottles are going, but I have spoken a lot about this fragrance. This is one of my favorite Hermes fragrances, but to the life of me, I can't find this bottle. It's Hermes Voyage de Hermes, launched in 2012. But the version I want to talk about is the Parfum, because I've never owned the original. The Parfum is where it's at. If you want a true, very true, authentic smell of cardamom in a fragrance, you've got to try Hermes Voyage de Hermes in the Parfum concentration. So awesome. It's like cardamom come alive and hitting your nose. If you've ever handled the spice itself, it's these kind of pods with seeds inside them. They're so fragrant, and it's the pods in perfume form when it comes to the Hermes Voyage de Hermes Parfum. I highly recommend it. It's definitely one of the most influential from this 21st century. And also for Hermes, I think it's another great fragrance created by Jean-Claude Helena. One of the most important perfumers of our lifetimes, I think. And then the last fragrance, until I have to pause and switch out the fragrances, I'm going to be talking about Montal's Black Oud. So Montal's Black Oud. Are you a fan? This is probably one of the ultimates in rose oud combo fragrances. And I like this one a lot because it has the patchouli thrown in as well. Super intense, potent, very rosy but dry. Oudy but not animalic. It's a Western oud. It's an oud accord. I do smell cypriol. I smell a little saffron. And for sure the patchouli. I find it to be sexy. This Oud Silk Mood from MFK, Gold Rose Oud from Terenzi, and a countless other fragrances that are very similar in smell. And, each brand has their own version of it. But I think you can get deals on the Black Oud and also the Gold Rose Oud from Terenzi. Probably the one you can't get really great deals on is the MFK, but the MFK is super sexy. All right, I'm going to pause the video here and come back with the next 50. All right, continuing on with the list, and I lied. I thought we had done exactly 50, but it looks like we did 60-some fragrances in the first batch. So we've got 30-some fragrances in this batch. And we're going to start year 2015, and this is the 100 most influential fragrances of the 21st century. And we're going to start with 2015. And no, we're not going to start with 2015. What am I saying? We're going to start with 2013. I'm way ahead of myself. So the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is one of the first fragrances I got from the house of Raja Parfums. This is Creation E. It says Creation E on my bottle, but I think there was some kind of a legal case with this fragrance. So it was always called Enigma outside of the USA. It was called Creation E here. And I just recently was at Neiman Marcus and I saw that this is now Enigma. So this was one of the best from the house early on. I really enjoyed it. It's boozy and it's quite fizzy. It has a powdery quality and it's got like a fizzy Coca-Cola-esque vibe. So it's got spices, it's got amber, and of course it's got cognac. I think it's cognac was the spirit that's in here. But super awesome smell, really intoxicating, addicting, and one of the best from the house of Raja Parfums. This is a male-targeted offering. I believe the brand does unisex offerings, and they also have male and female. So I think they have a female Enigma and Creation E, and they did at one time. I don't know if it's still the same, but really super awesome. One of my favorite boozy fragrances and one of my very first Raja Parfums loves. So it's interesting. Early on also, the fragrances were at a store here that no longer exists. It's more like a gift shop. Gumps. It had all kinds of gifts and things that are very expensive. And they also had fragrances. So Raja Parfums was there. But then they also got some at Neiman Marcus. But I don't think it ever took off. But now Neiman Marcus here in San Francisco has Raja Parfums again. They're also obviously at the ZGO Perfumery. So if you're in the market for Raja, you can go check them out at these different stores. They've been at ZGO for a while, but Neiman's just got their bottles. But Creation E Enigma is super awesome. I absolutely love it. Definitely one of the best in the boozy category. But speaking of boozy, this is also a fragrance that launched in 2013 and also super cheap and inexpensive. Well, at least now it is. When it launched, it probably wasn't. This is Bentley for Men Intense. Has to be included on this list, just like the fragrance I featured from Lalique called Lalique Encre Noire. This and that fragrance are two of the most amazing budget fragrances you can get. If you're the type that doesn't want to spend a lot of money, go for these fragrances. It's a nice gateway to understanding and appreciating more expensive fragrances, because these do smell really expensive as fragrances. They don't smell like every other mass designer offering out there, although they've gotten somewhat better with some fragrances. But this year has been a dud year for men's fragrances, starting off with the worst release from Dior, men's update of Dior Homme Parfum. But this Bentley for Men Intense happens to be my favorite cheapie. I actually enjoy this more than Lalique Encre Noire, but I really do appreciate Encre Noire, the entire series. This is super boozy, spicy, ambery, smoky, woody, and a bit green as well. Very, very delicious. And the dry down is so awesome on this. I really love the dry down and the longevity, the lingering power, and the intensity. Even though it's not like a super beast mode, I think it has great longevity. It also smells so good from start to finish. So Bentley for Men Intense, one of the best and super influential for the 21st century. Fragrance has changed so much, but I don't know where it can go next, because some of the styles that I really was in love with like 10 years ago, 15 years ago are still some of the styles I still like. So let me know if you guys have an idea of where fragrance is going. What are we going to experience next? So the next fragrance I don't have on my hands, but I wanted to mention it. And I'm not too experienced with it. It's from the house of Viktor and Rolf. It's Flower Bomb. That fragrance has been so influential. They've got so many flankers out there. I've smelled some of the flankers and really enjoyed it. But it's something that I don't personally own to talk about. I probably should have one just to talk about it. But throughout the years, I've actually gotten access to and smelled and, stopped at various counters to check out Flower Bomb. Let me know if you're a fan of Flower Bomb by Viktor and Rolf and which is your favorite. I feel like also Spice Bomb might be here. If I did a 200 fragrance version of this video, I perhaps would have featured Spice Bomb. But I think Flower Bomb has been much more successful and much more influential as a fragrance for the ladies in comparison to Spice Bomb. But there are a few Spice Bomb flankers I enjoy as well. But let me know your thoughts on Flower Bomb. Throughout the years, I've smelled some that I really enjoyed, just never bought because it was not my favorite, not my kind of fragrance. But of course, in passing, I've enjoyed the smell. So let me know, what do you recommend as far as Flower Bomb goes? It's interesting also, Viktor and Rolf doesn't do much in the way of different fragrances. They once launched their private blend type fragrances, but those tanked and they removed them right away. They did not really work out very well. And I don't know, as a brand, I think they're mostly known for Flower Bomb and then Spice Bomb and nothing else. I mean, they launched Antidote one year, like in the 2000s. I absolutely loved it. In fact, if I do a discontinued version of the last week's video, I will feature that in there because it's so good. But that's all they're known for. Spice Bomb and Flower Bomb, most importantly. And then the next fragrance, also very influential, but one of my most despised fragrances of all time. I cannot stand the way this smells. This is nasty, and I've got a broken bottle. Are you a fan? I don't know what's going on with this bottle. Let's see if it sprays. I'm hoping. Oh, no, it's spraying. There it goes. Yeah, this is actually slush. It's like a puddle of seawater with, I don't know whatever collects in puddles at the sea. So it's marine aquatic. It's so strong, and I would smell so many people wearing this. And I actually, if once I smelled it, I would have to get away from them. It's almost as bad as somebody having BO. That's how bad this fragrance is. I couldn't stand it. In fact, before the previous channel stopped, I shot a video. I had a bottle of this. This is another bottle that I have. It's almost like I've destroyed it myself, but I don't know what happened to it. But I took an axe to one of these bottles and shattered the heck out of it, which I was going to air, but I never did. But if you're a fan of Invictus, what do you like about it? And if you're not a fan of Invictus, what do you not like about it? There are a few flankers that have come after that I've kind of enjoyed a little bit, but this particular version, it's vile. And also this particular version has been copied. It's somewhat like a pre-made DNA, and it's ended up in a lot of men's fragrances that I kind of can't stand. So it's this, it's Amber Woods is what I think what's really in here, but they've amplified. Well, sometimes when you see Amber Woods in fragrances, I'm fine with it. But this one has so much marine added to it. It's nauseating, like super nauseating and cheap smelling. Yeah, if there's one fragrance that I cannot stand in the world of men's designer fragrances, it's this one. It's leaking, by the way. I haven't used this myself. Let me know if you're a fan of Invictus. That's the year 2013. Now we're going to an amazing year. An amazing year. Wait a minute. So I've got this year here, and it's 2014. It's not in order of when these fragrances launched, but the first one I'm going to talk to you about is one of my all-time favorite fragrances, which was destroyed early this year. and that fragrance is Dior Homme Parfum. So this launched, I think, around the summer of 2014, which is supposed to be this way. And I didn't get my hands on it. I was waiting for it to be released in the States. It never got released. And I was taking a trip in December, January to France. And I brought back 3 bottles of this at that time. But people were so hot to get their hands on this, I ended up selling some of it off. This is the 2014 version. It's a 75 ml bottle. As you can see, I'll show you the 2020 version as well. I don't know why they did the change. I don't understand what was France's thinking. I mostly think it's not his decision. It's a corporate decision. Look at the differences. So this 2014 edition is 75 ml and the 2020 edition is 100 ml. And the smells are not too different, but they are lightly different. I think the 75 ml version is a little beefier. What is that? I better not use that again. So let's smell them. What I liked about this, it's taking DHI, which I had just fallen in love with prior, because DHI is pretty much the same thing. Dior Homme Intense is pretty much the same thing. And the Dior Homme Parfum version is much thicker and denser, and taking it into a leather direction. So this first one is the 2014. So sexy, so super awesome. And let's try the 2020 version. The strips are and obviously the version of the 2014 fragrance that I have is probably aged in there a lot longer, since I bought it in 2019 and prior to that, compared to the 2020 version I've had since 2020, and most importantly, like 21, 22, 23, up until 24, I was getting the fragrance. The 2014 version is so superior, but the 2020 version is also very close. And comparing it to the 2025 version is so night and day different. But man, it's one of the best fragrance creations ever. Francois Dumarche went all out and made something so super luxurious, super awesome. It's so good. It's iris, it's a little bit of rose, it's some ambrette, leather. Some people have mentioned there's an oudiness. I don't get the oud myself. It's got a lipsticky makeup vibe. And yeah, one of the best moments in fragrance history. See, at first they're a little different. When they're drying down, they get to smell similar. So whatever they did, they changed the top. Yeah, so good. Let me know if you're a fan of the original. Maybe you're a fan of the new one. Who knows? Are you a fan? Do add a comment below. And then it's this. These, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, even though these are featured as a launch in one specific year, I don't have them in order of when they were launched, obviously. So the next one is Jo Malone's Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt. It's become the most popular fragrance from the house. One of the most popular, I think, not the most popular. And it's a salty, musky fragrance with some aromatic notes. You know, the sage in here, the wood sage and sea salt. So the sage is the aromatic note, so it's woody, and they've got the salty note to give you the effect of the sea. It's not marine, thankfully, but also it's musky because it has ambrette. So when you smell it, it's minimalistic a little bit. It's a light, it's easy to wear. It's not a cologne, so it's super light. But along the way, I think that ambrette adds a slight fruitiness in there as well. Light, very, very light. it's a crowd pleaser, but you got to spray a lot of that on because it is an eau de cologne, so it wears pretty light. But I think people are happy with Jo Malone. Jo Malone makes EDCs, eau de colognes. I mean, they have the dark bottles, which are stronger than the EDCs, but they are still EDCs. And then they have a few small collections of stronger, much stronger concentrations of fragrances. But I think that if you like minimalistic fragrances, wood sage and sea salt is awesome. Definitely very influential here. One of my favorites from the house too. And it's also kind of masculine leaning for a mostly kind of feminine leaning brand. Not that anything's wrong with that. Next, we're going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. So this really launched in 2015, but it was launched as a collaboration for Baccarat in 2014. So I'm putting it here as a 2014 launch, but I think it was launched everywhere in 2015. And this is a fragrance that was copied so much, so much. This was also a fragrance that I did not love at first. Obviously, I've mentioned many times. I just didn't click with this fragrance. Just did not. It's a lot of ambroxan and ambergris. There's saffron. There's some floral notes. There's woods and amber. It's a super sexy fragrance. Major lingering power. Lasts a long time. Big cloud. Huge trail and cloud. And I think that's why I started enjoying it, because I kept smelling it everywhere. Especially when I walk into Neiman's, as soon as I kind of crept my way to the MFK department, oh my God, there's a big cloud. It's Baccarat Rouge again. Yeah, it's been copied quite a bit. In fact, I do have a couple of fragrances here that might have hints of this fragrance, which I'll get to, because it happened towards the end of the 20s. That's what happened. But I think probably Francis will be known for this, if he's not known for La Mail from Jean-Paul Gaultier. But let me know what your thoughts are. Are you tired of Baccarat Rouge 540? Add a comment below. And then Imaginary Authors, A City on Fire. When I first smelled this, I was like, that's one of the most unique fragrances I have ever smelled. I've never smelled a fragrance that smells like a campfire or fire in general. One of the most unique, most indie fragrances in this collection of fragrances. But it smells like a fireplace, a campfire. There's ambery touches. There's resinous touches in the base. But it smells charred, smoked, barbecued, and slightly fruity. Here are the notes. Cade oil, spikenard, cardamom, clearwood, dark berries, labdanum, burnt match. Really good. I would, it's almost like I don't know why I would like that, but it smells so realistic. That's why I love that, and that's why I want to feature it. And then this, but I think between Fahrenheit Le Parfum and Dior Homme Parfum, for me, I was on a trip in 2014, 2015 in France. And it was at the beginning of January that they had just put this out, Fahrenheit Le Parfum. I bought my bottle. And once again, we already spoke about Eau Sauvage Parfum. That was the first one. It came out in 2012. And then late 2013, early 2014 was Fahrenheit Parfum or Le Parfum. And then I think in the summer, Dior Homme Parfum launched. So, and what I like about these three parfums of the designers, from the Dior designer of fragrances or classics, they're just super potent and intense fragrances from designers, and really worth having, at least when they first came out and all the way through the end of the 20s. They were some of the best designer fragrances on the market. They still are, I think. The Fahrenheit Parfum takes the original Fahrenheit DNA into a sweeter vanillic direction. You just still have leather. It's boozy. It's vanillic for sure. There's lots of vanilla here. And there's still the violet leaves. So you have this freshness, the crisp, ozonic freshness surrounding the entire fragrance. So even though it's sweet, it doesn't feel heavy, thick, because that ozonic violet leaves note in here is giving you a lot of fresher qualities against the warmer and more intense notes in the fragrance. Really love that. I think the fragrance itself has been destroyed, the original. It's gotten so thin. If you want something that's like the original, go to a fragrance like Portrayal Man from Amouage. It's sort of the similar experience, much more robust. But if you want going towards a kind of a slight gourmand boozy direction, go with the Fahrenheit. I think the Fahrenheit Parfum also, go with the Fahrenheit Parfum is what I meant to say. But the Fahrenheit Parfum also has a slight licoricey touch too. And then a few more fragrances that launched in 2014. This is Ex Nihilo's Fleur Narcotique, a Canton Biche creation. And we're going to see a few Canton Biche fragrances come up. Few, maybe 4, including this. This is a DNA that I've smelled quite a bit that he's done. Oh, I love it. I love this DNA. It's very feminine and floral and fresh. But he has a similar one to this that he did for Van Cleef & Arpels called Neroli Amara. He also did one that's also for Van Cleef & Arpels in the collection Extraordinaire, but it's an exclusive for the boutique called Vendôme 22. Similar, but there's also now a Parfum edition of not Fleur Narcotique, but Neroli Amara. But I think this is more of a influential fragrance here. I think for Ex Nihilo. It's a great smell. It's somewhat fruity, very floral, very fresh, and musky at the same time. And it launched pretty early on for the brand. And I keep saying, going back to the trips, my trips, I actually discovered this house on that same trip I bought the Fahrenheit. And they had just opened up a store on the Rue Saint-Honoré. And for the first time I walked in and like, what is this store? And they gave me a bunch of samples. I think the Oud Vendôme is one of the fragrance samples they gave me, and a few others also. But I think this one has become quite popular for the house. The Hedonist, and what's the other one? The blue one that is just got an extract as well. But let me know if you're a fan of Fleur Narcotique. Look to find out if you're a fan of the house. And I bought my bottle in 2015. 2014 is when I bought it, actually, come to think of it. It's Intense Cafe from Montal. Super influential. I think this also is a fragrance that generated a lot of inspirations. Like one of the most important ones that came after this was Atelier Cologne's Cafe Tuberosa. I absolutely love that fragrance. When I heard it was discontinued, I bought a few extra bottles. It was just before they folded in the Americas. But going back to Intense Cafe. So it's milky lactonic. Also not so coffeed, but lots of rose. And it's like a rose latte with a hint of coffee, amber, and spices. It's super creamy. Super, super creamy. It's got the DNA of Montal fragrances for sure. Let me know if you're a fan and if you prefer the Ristretto version, which adds a bit more coffee to the mix. Intense Cafe. I've turned that one on to so many people. It was like, I'd have sniffing parties and people would be like, that smells so good. I think the ones that really people resonated with is Intense Cafe. And also there were a lot of non-perfume lovers. They would fall for Molecule 1 by Eccentric Molecules at these little parties. But next, going to the house of... Oh, I think we're done with 2014. Now we're in the year 2015, starting with Naxos from the house of Xerjoff. Wow, this is a very popular fragrance for this house. In fact, I think I mentioned it in another video. When I get a sniff session going here, 9 out of 10 times, people want to smell this fragrance first. I don't get it. This also reminds me of Pure Havane, which I already spoke about. But this is a little different. Pure Havane doesn't get aromatic. This one gets aromatic. There's lavender here. So it's, lavender. It gives me the idea of an amber fougere because of that lavender and the tonka in the base. So it's acting like a little bit like a warmer take on, an ambery take on a barbershop fougere fragrance. But super popular for the brand. Also, not one of the most expensive from the brand. I remember at one time, this like early on was like $180, like suggested retail. I don't know what the price is right now, maybe like $100 more, but you can get it at the discounters. In fact, I have the fragrances tagged in the video, but definitely one of the best from the house. I enjoy it. This is Naxos. Then Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace. Yeah, very, very popular for the house. Very popular. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. This is actually By the Fireplace, Chamonix, 1971, burning wood and chestnut, male and female and male fragrance. So I think Chamonix is a ski resort town. I can totally, that's the picture I get. Rather than doing s'mores, doing chestnuts roasting on an open fire at a ski resort. That combo is so awesome. And this gives me that kind of an idea. Although I've mentioned also, this is not as smoky that I consider other fragrances smoky. Like there's no way it has similar smoky touches like a City on Fire does. But there is a fragrance from Micallef that has a similar idea. There, you really get the smoke, like real roasted chestnuts on an open fire gourmand. But By the Fireplace is definitely one of my favorites from Maison Margiela. Let me know if it's your favorite as well. Next, we've got Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Oud Satin Mood in 2015. So I was a latecomer for this, and I realized this was the most popular oud from the house. I think it's the most popular because they've thrown in vanilla in there. There's something about vanilla. I talk a lot about it because I love it. It's a favorite note of mine. And I've mentioned it before. It was not a favorite note of mine. I was never obsessed with vanilla before like I am now. I think it's just super calming and cozy. And I think the reason this Oud Satin Mood is so popular is because of the warmer vanillic notes that are in here. It's cozy and comforting. So it's rose, it's oud, it's vanilla or vanillic notes. And then there's also violets here. It is a bit lipsticky, makeup-y. I've gotten that experience from this. Violets and rose always do that. It's quite powdery as well. What are your thoughts? Is the Oud Satin Mood a favorite fragrance of yours? Do you prefer the extrait version over the Eau de Parfum version? Let me know. Add a comment below. Next, it's Atelier d'Azur Lune. That's not the right one. It's Tiziana Terenzi's Kirke. Let me know if you're a fan of Kirke. Definitely one of the more popular from this house. I prefer Ursa or Ladino Nero or even Ecstasy and a few others. But this one is super, super popular. It's fruity and like amber woody. And it's a really, really intense fragrance. It's also quite powdery and maybe slightly oudy as well. But so Spiro also had a fragrance called Erba Pura. So this is Xerjov's version. But I think these two fragrances, Kirke and Erba Pura, were competing with one another. I have a feeling. This is, not my favorite DNA, but I could see why people love it. It's got this very fun and playful side, and also more of a serious side. Let me know if you're a fan of Kirke. Why do you like it? Why do you hate it? And another very influential fragrance, I think, Atelier d'Azur Lune Feline. I love this fragrance. So they just launched their second vanilla, but I think I prefer this one over the other. This one's quite medicinal. It's got a weird medicinal vibe, and it's also quite musky. It's inspired by that cat you can see in the moonlight walking around on the rooftops. So it's vanilla, it's musky, it's balsamic. I think it's got it's got Peru balsam. So it's quite balsamic, but it does have a medicinal touch about it. It's not super gourmand. It's not fluffy, cakey, whipped creamy or anything like that. It's more of a darker take on vanilla, which I quite like. Super cool. They do have an extrait of Lune Feline, and the bottles are gorgeous. So we're still in the year 2015. We're going to Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo. Oh my God, this was so popular. So popular. And when I finally got back into Armani Acqua di Gio, I noticed that around this time that fragrance had gotten so light. Because the first time I wore it was in 1997, 1 year after it launched. And it was so robust. And I always felt like this version was a lot closer to the original when it first launched. This is a bit darker. I think it's got smokier notes. It's got patchouli. So it's a lot deeper. And the marine notes are not in your face. So it's, contrasted out. But you still have the DNA in there. You're reminded of it. It smells good. This version does smell great. And it reminds me, takes me back. I was still going to school in 97 and wearing that fragrance. Yeah. So that is Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo. The only thing I don't get is Armani decided to take away Profumo and then launched Eau de Parfums in this. But there's been way too many flankers of this fragrance. Way too many, I think. Too many. And the original is the most popular fragrance of all, like men's fragrance of all time. And then this fragrance has to be mentioned. Sauvage. Not Eau Sauvage, but Sauvage. So Kirkjan had just launched for MFK Baccarat Rouge 540. And then Demarche launched Sauvage with the usage of ambroxan. So ambroxan was starting to creep in a lot in fragrances, probably up until these two fragrances. It was used, but not in the amounts it was used. But I think this is a modern take on a fougere. It's aromatic, it's quite spicy, but that ambroxan that's in here, it's quite musky. So it has a lingering trail. And ambroxan does that. It's so super strong. It's so super base heavy. And you need that in fragrances if you want them to last. And this one does it. I prefer the elixir the most in this series. I don't care for that non-alcoholic version. Oh, I don't know what's the deal with that one. It smells like an herb garden to me. Not that there's anything wrong with herb gardens, but I kind of don't want Sauvage smelling like an herb garden. Or dried up herbs, I should say. This version is fun, but the elixir is super creamy. It's really creamy with the ambery touches. But I think the ambroxan is the most prominent in the EDT, and that's the EDT launched in 2015. That's Dior Sauvage. So I'm bringing this fragrance into the mix. This version probably didn't launch in 2015, but the body spray of this fragrance did. This is, what is this fragrance? Sol de Janeiro Cheirosa 62. You guys familiar with that? Look at that beautiful disco ball. So hypnotizing. Anyway, this brand, I am so surprised how it's just gotten so popular, extremely popular. And this fragrance itself, I don't know, I think they have products, and I've never used their products or anything. I've just seen them all the time. And this is a gourmand that's super nutty, creamy, caramelly, And so I guess it was originally a body spray. And they have a ton of different body sprays of a lot of different things. But I think it's just taken over. There's so much hype around the brand. In fact, I just read an article that I think they're in a lawsuit with some brand that had duped their look and everything. The lawsuit's taking place. Let's see what happens with that. But I guess some dupe brand produced a bunch of their body sprays looking exactly like the Sol de Janeiro brand body sprays. And let's see what happens and what that does to the dupe industry. But anyway, I like this. It does have a more mass smell, but it's quite yummy. It's a gourmand for sure, but very influential, I think. Let me know your thoughts on this house. Do you use their body sprays? I only have one fragrance. I bought it because I like the idea of it. It's pistachio, I think, in here. It's quite nutty. It's also creamy. And we've got this. This is also like so popular for this brand. This is Memo Paris's African Leather. So Memo Paris's leather series is so popular, but I think the most popular within the leather series is African Leather. But the very first one I bought from this is Italian Leather for the galbanum. Was it tomato leaf? I think it was galbanum. Maybe it's tomato leaf. I can't remember. I think it's tomato leaf. Sorry. Tomato leaf was the Italian leather. Galbanum was the Irish leather. Yeah, really awesome series. The Russian leather was also really great. It had pine and a kind of snow-covered piney kind of smell against the leather. There's the Moroccan leather. There's so many different leathers. This is the most popular. It's super spicy, slightly animalic, smoky, but a great smell, I think, and definitely so many people were wearing it. And it smells great. It smells super awesome. Really, really wonderful. I like the way the concentration hits my nose. Like I'm picking up how oily it is. The intensity of the spices. There's a bit of cumin in here as well. But eventually it settles to a leather. It does get a little animalic, but I don't think this is super animalic for a leather fragrance. Let me know if you're a fan of African leather. Put a comment down below. Now we're off to the year 2016. So is Leighton Contambiche or is it Hamid Muradi Kashani? I'm forgetting because they've both done fragrances for Marley. But Leighton, my God, it's been so popular. Leighton exclusive also because Leighton itself is very popular. Leighton's also been copied. There's a Mabussan fragrance that's kind of similar but not identical. There's a Lalique fragrance that's kind of similar. It's spicy and woody and creamy, a bit vanillic, a bit aromatic, but it's a good fragrance. It's a masculine take on something sweet and woody and spicy. Don't forget the spices. There's definitely spices here. Yeah, so that's Leighton, very, very popular. It's so popular that they've, like I said, they've launched the exclusive. The exclusive kind of goes animalic too. Then we've got Prada's L'Homme. So popular. I prefer the darker one, the EDP. This is EDT. This is kind of, to me, reminds me a little bit of the original Dior Homme. Not the 2020, but the original, but more with aromatic notes. Like I think this one has a lot of lavender in the mix. This is also a bit metallic. It's powdery. It's got a lot of iris, but something gives me a slight metallic edge about it. But really good. I prefer the darkness of the EDP, but I think this is pretty solid. And also, we spoke about the previous men's fragrance from Prada. The powderiness is kind of similar. So this brand does quite a bit of powdery fragrances. I mean, the new one is a dud, like I said, but they've done good work for men's fragrance. And I think from the Oceans series, I think the Ocean Parfum is great. The Luna Rosa, I should say. The black Luna Rosa Black is also really great. So Prada does do some good work, but it's their new fragrance, man, is such a dud. And then this one. So this came out originally in 2016 as part of a private blend collection fragrance, and then they brought it back in they brought this version in 2018, but as a private blend, it was in 2016 that this launched. It was actually called Ombre Leather 2016. That's what it was called when it launched. And it's Sonia Constant. She basically took Tuscan leather and made it a bit more accessible, I guess, easier to wear. It's more of like, it smells like leather and fabrics together. It's got fruitiness. It's got a lot of spice. And I think it's just a really awesome leather fragrance. It's an easy to wear leather. It's also much more accessible compared to Tuscan leather because it's cheaper, although Tom Ford fragrances are more expensive. But I prefer Ombre Leather over Tuscan leather. There is a fragrance by Tommy Hilfiger in the 2000s called True Star, I think. Is that what it's called? They used that Latin singer as the spokesmodel for it. Star. And to me, it reminds me of this. It was a leather fragrance, and this and that reminded me of one another. But that fragrance I wore for a bit, and it was gone. And it reminded me of leather and fabric, and this just totally reminds me of that fragrance. That's another reason why I like this. But I love Ombre Leather. Really awesome. I love the original more than the Parfum. And generally, I prefer Parfum editions more. And same perfumer, Sonia Constant, did the Noir Extreme and Noir Extreme Parfum. I prefer the Parfum of Noir Extreme, but Ombre Leather, I prefer Ombre Leather, the original, in comparison to the Parfum. All right, that's 2016. Now we're on to the 2017 with the most popular fragrance from the house of Parfums de Marly. When Parfums de Marly is mostly, I think it's more of a male brand, but the most popular fragrance is a female fragrance. It's Delina. Definitely created by Quentin Biche. So this is definitely a game changer for the brand. So it's super fresh, juicy, and crisp fruits with rose and a creamy backbone. Like there's something lactonic and creamy in this, almost reminding me of the creaminess of Intense Cafe. But the fact that there's crisp fruits and fresh fruits and juicy fruits up top and the rose. So there's something in there that reminds me of Intense Cafe, but obviously it's different because of the fresh fruits and the crisp fruits that are in there. I believe it's rose. I believe it's maybe there's rhubarb in here. What is that? A round fruit. I'm drawing a blank with the name of the fruit, but lots of rose. Yeah, really wonderful. It's a very feminine offering, and it's been a very popular fragrance for the house. Then we've got Black Phantom from Kilian, kickstarting the milky, lactonic, spicy, boozy coffee movement. I always say the brand does really great boozy gourmands, and this is definitely one of them. This one also is quite nutty, very milky. It's like having boozy and milky together. So they've thrown in everything in this mix to give you this all kinds of different directions gourmand. The coffee, the milk, the booze, the caramel, sweet, spicy, boozy, yummy. Really great offering from the house. They really do know their gourmands quite a bit. They focus on it and they perfect it. And I'll still say The brand's fragrances are not super beast mode on me, but I think they really do some great offerings. Like the fragrances do smell awesome. Then this I have to highlight. It was a game changer, but very polarizing. Gucci Guilty Absolute for men, created by Alberto Morillas. Oh my God, it's a leather, vetiver, spices, aromatics. It's not for the faint of heart and very polarizing. When I first smelled this, I was like, whoa, is this even gonna do well with the current trend in men's fragrances? I don't think it did well, but I appreciate that they released it. It's paying tribute to the 80s leather fragrances, but very modern way. I think also the perfumer Alberto Morillas did a fragrance that's kind of similar for Killian, actually, called Dark Lord, I think. And there's actually a fragrance that created by Jacques Cavalier for Louis Vuitton. What's the name? That kind of reminds me of this as well. But that one seems to be more animalic. But I really love this. It's so out there for a men's fragrance. Again, I don't know how it did. Probably not very well. But it was a bold move that they did launch something like this. In today's world, as a designer, this would be more of a niche offering. In fact, it was, because as I said, Alberto Morillas created something similar for Killian called Dark Lord. I got very similar qualities from it. But anyway, super awesome scent. Gucci Guilty Absolute. Let me know if you're a fan of it, and let me know if you hate it. Why do you love it? Why do you hate it? So that's the year 2017. We're moving on to the year 2018. Starting off with Rogue Perfumery's Mousse Illuminée. So awesome scent. This is probably what put the brand on the map. I've actually featured this in a Scent Club kit. One of the best fragrances I've put my nose on. The idea gives you a little bit of the idea of, the fragrance gives you a little bit of the idea of Irish Spring soap. But as a smell, it's different. It's boozy, it's green, it's mossy. It's aromatic, spicy, and floral, all combined. So awesome. It's a very modern take on a barbershop fragrance for the guys, going super green. I don't want that to fall. Really, really great scent. If you haven't gotten your nose on this, please do. It's so awesome. Mousse Illuminée is really, really awesome. Then this has become one of the most popular designer oud fragrances, Ombre Nomade from the house of Louis Vuitton. I was wearing this quite a bit. I was talking about it quite a bit, but taste change, you move on. But coming back to this, I still think it's quite an awesome scent. It's dark, smoky. It's not animalic, but, it's got that kind of Western oud funk to it. So some people that are not familiar with the smell might think it's not very pleasant smelling, but that's what oud smells like. Well, the Western oud. This doesn't have much rose in it. It has like maybe light traces. It's got some slight fruits. There's smoky touches and resins. So it's ambery. But I always mention Le Sable Roses is also really great to layer with this, the counterpart of the series of fragrances, which is more focused on rose and it's watery, dewy, a bit marine. So they complement one another and create a nice balance, But I think the original Ombre Nomade is quite good. I've been waiting to buy a bottle of Pure Amber, P-U-R Amber, but it's so expensive. One of these days. Anyway, but we're going to the house of Initio. It's Oud for Greatness. Yeah, this has been so popular from this house. I remember I was actually on a trip to London, and the first time I got my nose on this was at Selfridges there, and people were like huddled to this little section because it had just launched, and they were like going gaga over this fragrance. I don't get much oud myself. I get more of a DNA of Baccarat Rouge in there because it's got lots of ambroxan. But I think it's got enough of an accord of something that smells like oud in there to give you that kind of a vibe. But for me, it's more about the ambroxan type notes. That there's saffron in here, of course, as well. That's giving you that kind of an effect in the fragrance. But yeah, very popular. Let me know if you're a fan of Initio's Oud for Greatness. I didn't really care for Oud for Happiness that much. I like that one. But at first, when that first came out, I wasn't very into Baccarat Rouge yet. So I didn't really click with that fragrance, but later it grew on me and I clicked with it. And I am going to mention this one here. I am. It's a celebrity fragrance, but I think it's worth mentioning because it's been so influential. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but you'll see. This ugly bottle. One of the most ugliest bottles. Look, the bottle comes out of the thing as well. It looks a little better. So this has been so popular. And it does remind me of Baccarat Rouge. I think it's the copy of it. Not identically copy. And it's going slight more feminine direction with Cloud. Ariana Grande's Cloud goes there. Wow, it's very light. I thought it was stronger. Yeah, it gives me the Baccarat Rouge vibes. It's a bit more fluffy and girly for sure. I'm surprised it's not pink because, you know, this is kind of a baby blue. So, not a boy fragrance. Anyway, that's 2018. We've got one more fragrance for 2018, and this is another Francis Kurkdjian creation. This is Burberry Her, and also has the kind of DNA of Baccarat Rouge in there, but with fruits. This is strawberries. Who's a fan of this? Yeah. It's super fruity, juicy, and musky with the Baccarat Rouge-like vibe. So I think for some reason Burberry and Kurkdjian had a connection or a relationship. He was doing a lot of fragrances for Burberry, and I think he worked on a lot with the Burberry exclusive collection. That thing flopped, actually. That collection flopped. I think it launched in December, or around the time I was in London. I went to Harrods in 2019 it was just around Christmas. I went upstairs to the salon and I checked them out, but I don't think it lasted because they had them upstairs, the Burberry did. But what happened to that collection? And of course, obviously, Kurkdjian went to Dior and he can't work on other fragrances anymore. But this is definitely got his touch. He's using a similar kind of ambroxan thing that's in Baccarat Rouge, but it is lighter here. And the fruits kind of take over as well. I think it's strawberry as a fruit. All right, that's Burberry Her. That is the end of 2018. We are at 2019, the year 2019. And where are we here? We've got a fragrance from the House of Zoologist, Perfumes. It's B. It was either this or T-Rex. And T-Rex I appreciate as a fragrance, but I can't wear. B I can totally wear. And it's a great representation for honey. It's a major spring floral, powdery like experience. So it's super waxy, kind of royal jelly is the note, and honey, beeswaxy kind of touch. But it's super potent with the the floral notes. This fragrance has really aged in this bottle. It's gotten so concentrated. It's so intense. And you can actually smell the thickness. B, Are you a fan of B? So that launched in 2019, but same year we had Nishane's Ani. If you guys notice, I did not put Hachivat, but it's pretty influential. I had to leave off a lot of fragrances. Obviously, you can't fit more than 100. But I did a toss-up. Since I had Cedrat Boisé, I had Aventus, I decided to go with Ani. Ani is also probably really popular. Definitely an influential, fragrance that you connect with the 21st century so far. It's one of the best. But it's a super spicy fragrance, focusing on vanilla, sandalwood, but lots of cardamom, lots of ginger. You've got that lemony touch up top as well. Great DNA. Love this DNA. Let me know if you're a fan of Ani. I think I prefer Ani over Ani X, but sometimes I like Ani X because I think what she's done, the perfumer Cecile Zorokian has done, is boosted up the lemony touch. When you do the version that's the X, also somewhat reminds me a little bit of Tigar DNA, because it boosts up the zing. But I love Ani. Ani is definitely one of the best that launched in the 21st century. So then this has got to be on this list. Ganymede, another Quentin Biche creation. This actually has somewhat become as popular as Baccarat Rouge. This one also has a lot of violet leaves in it. We were talking about violet leaves earlier. Lots of violet leaves. It's very minerally. It's very spicy. It's immortelle. It's saffron. It's these, spicy herbs mixed together with ozonic violet leaves, which creates a slight fruity, appley touch. I love it. It also gives me leather vibes too. It's leathery because the saffron does that. In fact, it's quite leathery today. Sometimes I don't get the leather as much. It's a great scent. Ganymede, let me know if you're a fan of it. So then we've got Xerjoff's Herba Pura. This is launched by Xerjoff in 2019, but remember, Sospiro and Xerjoff used to be one brand, and they separated, and I guess Xerjoff wanted to launch their own Herba Pura. And to me, Herba Pura and Kirke are somewhat similar. It's a similar idea. It's fruity, it's woody, it's a bit musky, and it's got that amber woody touch. It's got a kind of a Middle Eastern vibe to it. And people love this DNA. Again, as I said, it's not one of my all-time favorites, but I wanted to talk about it because it's become very, very popular. I think Kirke and Herba Pura smell quite alike. Do you guys like Herba Pura? I don't know why it's not one of my favorite DNAs. I don't know. I prefer other fragrances more. I just don't think it's all that. But people seem to really love that fragrance and that DNA. All right, 2020. We've got Angel's Share. So Kilian launches these new bottles that look like glasses you can sip booze out of, and they launch boozy fragrances. And Angel's Share, to me, has similarities to Wajan, Ambre Narguilé, but in a boozy direction, an appley boozy direction. Also caramelly, sticky. It's very, very popular, super, super popular. Again, they do really, really great things with boozy gourmands, or gourmands in general. This is holiday. It smells like the holidays. I love the way it smells. I mean, I prefer other fragrances from the house more, but this has been super popular for the brand. And then moving on to the year 2021. So there's an uncertainty about when this particular fragrance was actually released, but a lot of info on the internet mentions it's 2021, but the databases say the release date is unavailable or not available. So I'm going to put it as 2021, but it really caught on in 2023 and it's been popular since then. This is Giardini di Toscana's Bianco Latte. Super, super popular. I've actually featured this in a Scent Club kit. This is like a milky latte come to life. Super sweet and gourmand. Super cozy as well. But I envision this most decadent scoops of ice cream, because it acts like ice cream to me. It smells like ice cream, but it's latte. It's Bianco Latte, white latte. Are you a fan? What's going on with the brand? This is a great scent. I love it. It's super cozy for me. Really, really delicious. Then we've got Louis Vuitton's Imagination. So yeah, if you look at the timeline, Giardini Toscana's Bianco Latte didn't really come on the scene until like 2023, but according to the research, it's around 2021 when it was launched. Imagination launched it in 2021. Once again, I was not a fan of this fragrance. I felt like it was weak and not anything to get excited about. Created by Jacques Cavalier, where he has created tea-focused fragrances. And he basically applied his tricks with what he's learned at Louis Vuitton and what he had done before. And he came up with an awesome scent. And I think I started smelling this off of other people is when I started liking it. I couldn't really smell it off of me because I felt like it was kind of light and I probably get nose blind to it. But boy, when I started smelling it off of people, I was like, whoa, that stuff is super sexy. And it is. It's just very, very light. You got to, spritz a lot, but it's tea focused. It's very, very fresh and it smells great. Just pile it on though. Let me know if you're a fan of Imagination. Add a comment below. Unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of this one, and I can't understand why this is so popular. This is Hibiscus Mahajad from Maison Crivelli. What is it about this fragrance that people love? I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. To me, it is, and people also connect it to Delina and things like that. I don't get it. It's a turnoff. It's like medicine, like cough syrup. I don't get it. I much prefer Patchouli Magnetic over that. And now it's Tuberose Astral and Rouge, Queer Rouge. I think that's what it is. That one doesn't, I don't get it. I just don't get the popularity of this fragrance. It's become the most popular for the brand with the extracts created by Canton Biche. Are you a fan? Why do you like Hibiscus Mahajad? Let me know. Why do you hate it if you hate it? Add a comment below. Okay, 3 more fragrances left. We're in the year 2022. So compiling the 21st century, might have to do a part 2 of this series. But it took a long time to compile. I had to remove a lot of fragrances. I wanted to feature Rive Gauche Pour Homme. I wasn't able to, and so on and so on. But this one had to be on here. This is Baby Cat from 2022. The way that YSL launched this fragrance was so weird. So weird. So they never released it in the States. I used to talk about it on videos and, mention it's not selling here. I brought my bottle back from France. You can always go with Vanagloria from Laboratorio Olfativo. I would get comments from people in Canada. Oh, it's already selling here. We have it here. We've had it here forever. Why the hell is it not selling in the USA? Why wasn't it ever released? People were fighting, searching, looking everywhere to get bottles. I'd bring back more than one bottle for some friends who wanted it. It just became Very, very popular. But as I was always mentioning, go try Vanagloria. There's Vanilla Barca from Amouage, but it's not a spray, it's an attar. But I don't know. Now it's finally here, and apparently these fragrances, although this is now changed, it's something different. The label's also different. They're selling at Sephora apparently. So you can now buy Baby Cat at Sephora. Go figure that. But what is this about? It's very churchy, incensey, leathery, spicy, peppery, vanilla. So it's not gourmand. It's vanilla, sweet, but contrasted with the darker notes, the leathery, smoky, spicy notes. It's super addicting. And I cannot forget this fragrance. I've got to mention it here. This is Guidance. Came out in 2023. Fast became the most popular fragrance from Amouage, beating out Interlude Man, obviously. And once again, another Quentin Biche creation. I like the DNA. It's not one of my all-time favorites, but I like it. I like its creaminess. People associate this with Delina once again. They also associate it with Hibiscus Mahajat. I just cannot associate it with Hibiscus Mahajat at all. I mean, if there was a fragrance I hated a lot, it would be Hibiscus Mahajat. In fact, going back to Hibiscus Mahajat, I don't care for it. And I also don't care for the Amber Chromatique, I think it's called. I don't care for that fragrance either. Those two just don't do it for me. This Guidance, I think for me, is totally fine. In fact, I prefer the Guidance 46, the more ambery version, but there's nothing wrong with this fragrance. I like it. It's not like a wow for me, but people seem to love it. So it's hazelnuts, it's rose, it's pear. It's got that creamy, kind of minerally DNA. What do you guys think about Guidance? Let me know. Do add a comment below. And then to end the list with, I've got to mention this. This is my collaboration, 54, which launched in 2024. Yep, this is patchouli focused, creamy, super creamy. It's got patchouli, it's got chocolate, vanilla, sandalwood, tobacco, cardamom, saffron, davana. Man, it's so super intoxicating. It's really, really, really awesome the way Julien did this. And if you smell Julien's work, like lately, it doesn't match with a lot of stuff that he's done. So he went out of the box to create this with me directing him along with the owners of Juicebox. Like a lot of his stuff he does now, he does a lot of leathers and oudi kind of fruity Middle Eastern type fragrances. But this one, super intoxicating, really creamy. When it's drying down, it becomes, lactonic, creamy, chocolatey, milky. But it's spicy up top. It's boozy. I forgot to mention the pina colada and the coconut and the rum in here. Awesome stuff. And that's the end of our video with 54. If you haven't gotten your nose on 54, Nordstrom is selling it now. But you can always check it out at a ZGO Perfumery. And that's the 100th fragrance for you guys. Let me know if you want a part 2, because there's a lot more that were influential in the 21st century. But it took me a long time to do this list, plot it out. And I know we've left off a lot of fragrances. But let me know your thoughts on the fragrances I discussed with you today. What do you think about them? Do you love them? Do you enjoy them? Is there a more influential fragrance that you think that did not make this list? Add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching today's video. Don't miss last week's video. 100 fragrances you must get your nose on as a perfume lover before you die. Yeah, that one is another 3+ hour video. So check that out. And then, of course, watch this one. And don't forget to, click into my playlist of deep dive videos. There's hours and hours of content there. You can watch back-to-back videos for hours on end. Not a lot of music, not a lot of editing, just me chatting about fragrances. So yeah, check that playlist out. And again, if you want to buy any of these fragrances, I have them tagged. If I can tag them, I have them tagged. Or, just click through the products and they're timestamp tagged as well. Anyway, if you have any requests for me to do, I already have next week's video planned. It's another similar video, but not anything to do with these first two that I did on the 100 fragrances. Let me know, add a comment below. I'm willing to do more. I don't have much travel, although it's the holidays. I do have like small trips planned, but I can always shoot these videos in advance and air them while I'm gone too. So really appreciate you tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon, give a like to this video, a thumbs up so it helps with the algorithm, and share it if you can for other people to find this video. See you guys later. Bye-bye.